right, greetings and welcome to Bettor's Last Stand. This is the BLS season racing preview. This is the first annual one of these, and I'm pleased to be joined by my cousin here, Mr. Sam Pavlik. He's going to be known as, I guess, Racing Sam. How's that sound? I think when we call you in, what needs to be your call name when we have you on the show each week?
You just call me Sunshine.
All right, Sunshine. Sunshine Racing Sammy, something along those lines. He's a great racing analyst. He knows his stuff on every circuit we're going to cover here today. And again, for those of you who are new to racing, we're going to try to give you some rundowns through all the big series, the open wheel series here with the Formula One and the IndyCar, as well as the three circuits of NASCAR with your Craftsman, well, actually, it's not. It's Camping World Truck Series, and then your Xfinity Series, which is the mid-range, lower level of the stock cars, and then your NASCAR Cup Series. So we're going to go through all these series, go down through what we think is interesting stuff as the season approaches. The Daytona 500, less than a week. Well, actually, not quite less. But when you see this show, it will be less than a week away, as Jubb will have this out couple days before the 500, so you can get your Daytona bets in, your season-long bets, all that kind of stuff. We're going to be having Sam on the show regularly on Bettor's Last Stand, so be sure and tune in each week for his racing picks. We're going to hopefully get him Skyped in here once we get the beautiful Pine Room Studio computer here. We're going to have you on. First of all, welcome, Sam. It's great to have you here, and what are your thoughts here of Jubb's beautiful lair?
It's a pleasure. I think it's beautiful, but something's missing.
What would that be? Beer?
Jubb.
Oh, Jubb, yeah. Yeah.
Jubb.
Well, it's not quite finished yet. You know, Jubb, he's got other commitments tonight. He's a busy guy.
It's beautiful.
He's always on the move. So thanks to Jubb and everything he does, he's going to get this all cut up and formulated for us and out to the people so they can see and listen to our beautiful race previews as we go through all the mentioned circuits of racing. It's a good time of year, Sam. I'm really excited about racing in general. Really excited to get your thoughts on all the ongoings. Racing seems like it went through like a downtime for a while. Now I feel like it's hitting a major revival, whether it's Formula One or NASCAR. I think both of them on the way back, and IndyCar as well. Probably the best season of IndyCar in a long time last year.
I think this upcoming year is the biggest year for IndyCar.
Yes.
Period.
Right.
For a lot of reasons, which we will get into.
Yes.
But overall, racing, I do believe it is on the up and up.
Absolutely. I think it's getting more popular with younger people, which is good.
I don't know if they actually like the racing part of it, though.
It's just all the flair and just the festivities and the pageantry. Obviously, the Formula One that going to those events is just incredible. As we were talking about earlier, when Chris and Dicey stopped in to say hi, the amount of money that goes into these race teams and just how much it costs to go to the races and the places that the races are. I mean, every place that F1 races is in some luxurious area. Oh, I guess for maybe the exception of Bahrain and some of those, but some of the Middle Eastern territories. But I mean, all this stuff beautiful along the water and these just pristine, beautiful places.
Just looks make believe. To be
it does. It does. It looks like a video game.
Yeah.
Looks like something you're on. You see on your Xbox or your PlayStation. But it's exciting. It's an exciting time of year. I'm pumped up. I'm really happy. Be glad to put football in my rearview mirror as we head towards Daytona next week. And Daytona week's always really fun for me. And we're gonna go through the NASCAR part of the discussion here later in the show. But just opening it up. You got Speed Week coming up next week. What were your thoughts about the Busch Clash? I guess that's what we're going to discuss first. Just overall thoughts. Any observations?
I think we're different here.
Yeah.
I was not a fan of the Clash. I actually had to turn it off at certain points. Just there's so many cautions.
I get that.
I just view it like if that's your opening race,
right, that
can't be the product.
Right. No, I agree. I thought when I was watching with several people, they made that comment too, and I agree. It really took away from it. This having to stop. You had too many cars out there, probably. Do you think that's a problem? 27 for the first time versus the 23.
Poles only.
Yeah, it should probably only really be like a dozen cars, because then when you have somebody spin, maybe you can get a guy back around before they come back around again. But when you got 27 cars, I mean, you're getting to the tail end of that really quickly. So
and nobody knows who spun who,
right?
Because it's like this guy hits the guy in front,
chain reaction,
and he hits that guy, and it's a disaster.
Yeah, it was always like the third guy in line would tap the one guy, and then he'd tap the guy out in front, and it was
right. What do you do?
And then who are you pissed at? And then Yeah, it wasn't perfect. I think I liked last year's better only because it was kind of new and I didn't know what to expect, and I was thinking, well, even if it does have hiccups, I'll be all right with it because I'm just happy racing's back. And I thought the footprint out there in LA is huge for them. I mean, I know they want to get people to watch, and that's important, I guess. But
did they do a concert last year in between as well?
I want to say they did. I thought, well, I can't remember, but Ice Cube was on, but maybe he was before. I don't know. So
right there. Yeah, Ice Cube was on.
Yeah, Ice
Why?
Cube. No, I didn't mind. I will take Ice Cube over Wiz Khalifa, but
it's not their fault.
No,
it's just like they had one of those the D'Amelios performing.
Yeah.
From TikTok, right?
Right.
How is an audience from TikTok gonna watch a 3-4 hour race?
I know, and Jubb
I mean?
says all the time about the attention spans is the shortest it's ever been for people, like 8 seconds, and I guess the laps were about 8 seconds, but that's about it.
Right.
Because, I thought they drug it out too long. I thought it was way too long of a day for the drivers, for the fans. I was happy to see it back, and I enjoyed betting on it, and I had Truex, so I was happy about that. But
he was flying.
Yeah, and I'm big on him this year. Hopefully, he can keep some momentum going from that. I don't know. I'm a Clash fan, but maybe they need to move it somewhere else. I don't know. It's hard to move it out of LA though.
There's got to be another track there,
right? Yeah.
I know it's the Rose Bowl. That's the whole thing. The scenery. It's embarrassing.
Yeah, I don't know if that ultimately is what they were going for, but I get it. They're bringing a whole different demographic of people into it, so I think take the good parts of it and move on. Thank God it was not a points race, or you'd have guys like just going nuts, scorched earth, as if there wasn't enough of that to begin with.
Because teams show up and they don't even get the race.
Yes,
like RFK.
Yeah, I know. It's you put all that time in. And it is, and you really are just dependent on. Well, not only do you have to have a decent car, you got to just hope that you can get enough luck that you don't get spun at the wrong time, and that you don't miss the cutoffs or whatever. And then you got to race your way in for the last qualifiers, and then there's just so much pressure on these guys, and not that they can't handle that, but it's a lot. I think you would see that the drivers are probably ready to kind of move on from that, but I don't know. We'll see what happens. What do you think of the reemerging of the Kyle Busch Joey Logano rivalry? I think is got a little shot in the arm last week. These rivalries in NASCAR are good for the sport. Do you agree?
They're back.
Yeah. So you got the rookies carrying over here with the Gragson and Gibbs. I mean, that's going to be just a killer battle all season long.
Denny and Ross.
Yeah, Denny and Ross.
That's not done.
Carrying
There's
that
no
on
way that's
from last year. And just a lot of cool storylines. For those of you who aren't aware of that, Ross Chastain, Denny Hamlin have a little feud going. Actually, Denny Hamlin got some feuds with a few guys. I know William Byron and him had a little run-in last year. So, and then Logano and Kyle Busch have kind of had back and forth throughout their careers. Both very aggressive drivers, very good drivers, and they're going to be guys to watch this year. Both of them. Logano, the defending champ, Kyle Busch, the new team. Lots of good things to look for from him this year. And then you got the Gibbs and Gragson, the two rookies coming in from the Xfinity Series. Gibbs being the grandson of Joe Gibbs. He's got a great team, and Noah Gragson's a really talented driver too. So I think you're going to see lots of good things out of those guys. They both pretty much dominated the Xfinity Series last year. So great stuff. You got AJ Allmendinger coming into the Cup for full time. There's a lot to unpack in NASCAR, and we're gonna talk all of it right now. Sam, any other closing thoughts on the Clash or anything just initially that you're excited to talk about here tonight?
IndyCar.
Okay.
IndyCar more than any other series.
Great.
Just because there's a lot going on.
Sure.
But overall I'm just happy that racing's back.
Yes, it's a great time of year. Racing is on the horizon. We're going to take a break here on our first segment. We're going to come back, and we are getting right into the open wheel stuff. We're going Formula One and IndyCar, and then we're going to close it out at the end with our third segment, which is going to be the rundown of all three NASCAR series. So we appreciate you joining us here on the first annual Bettor's Last Stand Racing Preview Show. Sam and Matt here for the Pine Room guys here in the studio. We're going to take a quick break. We'll be right back.
reminder, Bettor's Last Stand is for informational and entertainment purposes only. All wagering activity should only be conducted by those 21 years of age or older and within the confines of federal, state, and local law. If you or someone you know has a gambling problem, contact 1-800-GAMBLER. That's 1-800-426-2537. You're watching Bettor's Last Stand.
All right, welcome back into the Bettor's Last Stand Racing Preview Show. Sam and Matt here. We're getting into our open wheel segment here. The first up for us right now is going to be Formula One. Just incredible stuff. I continue to just grow to a bigger fan of Formula One every year. I think I like it so much because you're one of the only people I can actually talk to about these races. They're at like 6 and 5 in the morning all the time, and I know most of the people that I know aren't even up then, and most of them probably wouldn't be watching Formula One racing, which I encourage them to do. So Formula One's a great circuit. If you guys haven't checked it out yet, be sure. Great value, tons of betting offerings. If you go into your DraftKings, your FanDuel, your Caesars, all your different books in whatever state you're watching us from, check it out. It's really, really growing, and they continue to add things every week. Sam, if you go through the DraftKings menu alone of F1 on a Sunday or actually a Saturday night or whatever, it's incredible how much stuff is in there.
Yeah, it's totally ridiculous.
Yeah,
they've realized where the money is at.
Yeah,
and it is in F1 and all the sports books.
And pretty much anything you can bet on is there. Like anything you can imagine, whether it's exact outcomes, obviously all your matchups, your top finishing makes of cars, your top finishers excluding the big three teams. I mean, you have everything. You can actually do these 2 and 3 guy parlays where Max Verstappen wins, Charles Leclerc finishes second, and then so and so third. I mean, they're almost like trifectas in like horse racing. You have so many options, and they pay really, really well. So it's a great time to check that stuff out. Again, Bettor's Last Stand. We'll have our picks every single week for you as the season starts. The F1 season kicks off here in March, and it's right around the corner. We got testing coming up for these guys. We got people they're securing their rides. They're getting their teams in order for this incredible endeavor. It's such an expensive sport, and the amount of money that goes in, and the amount of time, and just being able to ship these cars across the world, and it's really quite impressive, Sam. I gotta say.
I would actually like to ask you a question.
Yes, please.
The Williams team.
Yes.
What the hell are they doing? I mean, honestly, a team with that much history, that much legacy in racing, they shouldn't have to put up with what they've had to put up with.
Yeah, now what do you know about this Logan Sargent guy? I mean,
I know he's an American from Florida, and that's about it. Honestly, I don't know much about him. I really don't.
So, folks at home, if you're not familiar, Williams has been in F1, basically since the beginning. So it's one of the legacy type team, but it's really falling on hard times. It's basically uncompetitive. And, Alex Albon is back for them. And then Logan Sargent, a newcomer to the F1 circuit, is stepping in here. And, you just don't know Nicholas Latifi, who exits with. They ain't missing anything with him.
Latifi.
Yeah, Latifi, basically, you could fade Latifi every week if you can get him matched up with just about anybody. And we'll get further into that as the season goes on. And if hopefully Williams can be on the rebound here, but I don't see much. I don't see much out of them. I'm really not certain that they're going to be where they need to be. But I don't know. It's going to be a tough go for them, but we'll see. I guess you never know. Never say never with Williams, but. Actually, we got to stop the show for a second because Ace just texted me and he's outside.
Beautiful.
All right, back here on Bettor's Last Stand, the racing preview show. Ace just interrupted us briefly. I had to get him some Nailer tickets. So
go Nailers.
Yeah, go Nailers. We'll get talking about them. You can check us out on our regular show on WKKX every Monday, 2 to 3. We talk to Nailers on there regularly, and even mentioned it on the Bettor's Last Stand show. Anyway, all right, let's get back into where we were. We were talking Formula One. We were lamenting about Williams and how they're probably up against it again this year.
It's just tough. Like when they first signed Logan Sargent, I thought it was great for him.
Right.
But I think it's just for him, just a foot in the door.
Yeah.
You know, because getting to F1,
stepping stone.
Right.
It pretty much has
getting
to
F1's pretty tough.
What do you know about the circuit that he came from before?
Not much.
Yeah.
Honestly, I think a lot of these drivers have more money.
Right. You think that's kind of propelling them?
Which when I get into IndyCar, I'll touch on that more.
Sure.
But if anyone doesn't know, a lot of these F1 drivers and the Formula 3, Formula 2, the whole circuit that leads up to that, you got to have, in the karting too, you got to have a lot of money.
Right.
A lot of money.
Yeah, and just financial backing to be able to sustain and deal with so many things, changes in car malfunctions and damaged cars, and just the amount of money, people don't even think about it. The amount of money that is spent on repairing these cars after they're damaged, especially these F1 ones. I mean, these are fine-tuned machines. It's not like NASCAR where you get a little bang up on the fender, although these new generation NASCARs, they pop right out and stuff. But like in the old days, you got guys driving around with duct tape on and fenders hanging out and no front grill. And yeah, these F1 cars, they can sustain very little damage, like where they can actually run safely and even be able to compete in any speed. So it's incredible. If you haven't watched Formula One, highly recommend it. The nice thing about Formula One too is their 2-hour racing window basically, and you can't beat it.
You said it.
Perfect.
It's a guarantee.
Yeah.
You know, and they have to finish the race within that time.
Right.
You know what I mean? So it's like you have 40 laps. You can only get in the last 20.
That's
Whoever wins is in the last 20. It's beautiful.
Yeah, there's no like 6-hour races that you're waiting on to see who wins, and just drags out. Rain delays. Yeah, it's a great thing too. They're pretty much all weather, barring waves being out on the track. Which been there a couple of times in the monsoon rains over in Asia. But it's a great circuit. The stuff is just fantastic, and it just continues to get better and better each year. Now, the only thing that I will say about F1, where I know you'll make this case when we talk Indy cars, is the competitive balance in Formula One. It's just so far off. I'm hoping that it comes back a little bit. For those of you unaware, Max Verstappen, he's the Red Bull lead driver. He's now looking for his third straight championship. Red Bull kind of dominating right now, led by him. Sergio Perez, his teammate, won a couple times last year. Very good driver in his own right. But Red Bull, Ferrari, and Mercedes right now are the three teams on top. Ferrari started the year last year as people were thinking they were the team to beat, and they just had mistake after mistake between Charles Leclerc and Carlos Sainz. Just if they didn't win the races or compete to be second or third, they were crashing out. It was an every week thing. They were under a lot of pressure. So Ferrari definitely did not meet expectations last year. And then Mercedes, I would say, and I'm anxious to see what you think about this, Sam, started the year off not good, not up to speed. I know the guys weren't happy. Lewis Hamilton, probably the most successful driver in this circuit. Most of you have probably heard of him. He's kind of been dethroned by Verstappen in the last couple of years. But Lewis Hamilton and George Russell, two really good drivers. As the year went on, I felt like they got some momentum back. What did you think about Mercedes last year?
Yeah, I mean, they started terrible. Yeah, for Mercedes standards, it was terrible. You know, they're
on the podium every week. Yeah,
they're a podium team, so they didn't start very well. But definitely, as the season went on, George, Lewis, they meshed as well as they could. George, drove better.
He did.
I think.
I thought so too. I thought he had a much better year.
And that's something that Lewis is great because he's 7-time champ.
Yes. He's not trying to prove anything. That's the good thing about Lewis Hamilton. He's out there. He wants to win, but he's not needing to pass somebody on the last lap to save his job, kind of thing. George Russell is wanting to impress and stay with a good team like that, and I think he's really good. I expect him to have a good season this year. We'll get into some of our season-long thoughts, but those three teams, Red Bull Racing, Ferrari, Mercedes, are your three teams who really are the top teams. So when you're talking podium finishes in F1, and this is another thing you can bet every week on DraftKings, FanDuel, all the big books, whether it's Pennsylvania, Ohio, West Virginia, they all got it. You can do podium finish, so be looking out for that. It's the top three. It's a simple podium, just like an Olympic Games kind of thing. So a good value on those. You can bet the manufacturer, like Red Bull, to finish on the podium. You get two chances. Mercedes on down, and obviously when you get past those top three, if you can sneak an Alpine or a McLaren in there, or Alfa Romeo or something, you then you really can get some good payoffs. But it's a good bet. I like to make that bet. I make it pretty often. A lot of times I like to make the 2. So if you think the team's really going to run well, you bet 2 Mercedes on the podium finish. They pay really well. It's a good thing to be looking for, and we'll talk more about that as the season goes on and when we give you our picks each week. They're opening up at Bahrain, Sam, here in a few weeks. Here it's the first weekend of March. They're starting to unveil these new cars. What have you heard? Anything strike you as interesting as these teams start to launch their 2023 versions of their cars?
I mean, you touched on it earlier. I just hope it's not a Mercedes, Ferrari, and Red Bull.
Yeah,
top 3. I don't want that anymore.
Right.
We get it. We know that they're the best. I have written here for Ferrari.
Yes.
Their engines.
Yeah.
They need to make sure whoever's putting their engines together, tighten all the bolts and all the screws.
They had a lot of just unforeseen engine failures in on the 3rd lap of the race or the 4th. I mean, it's just incredible the amount of money they spend and how many mechanics they have working on these that somebody didn't fix those up a little bit better. But you're right. If the supplier isn't coming through for them, then it's kind of out of their hands, and it does suck for the drivers who work their butts off, and then they get put in this incredible machine, and it fails on them within 5 laps in the race. It's frustrating, and it's got to be. It has to be, because these guys are racing for their jobs. A lot of these guys, and if you have a couple bad years on these teams, you know they don't last. Like, you're done. Like, you're not, like, you get a grace period maybe 1 year, and if you're not a Max Verstappen or a Lewis Hamilton, you're not gonna get another chance. So
look at Ricciardo.
Yes. Daniel Ricciardo was on top. Like, everybody thought he was going to be great, and then I got my McLaren shirt on right now. And he was horrible. Just so disappointing. And
even Mick.
Yeah, Mick Schumacher. A legacy guy. Just a great racing name, and these guys, even he's not going to get chance after chance after chance when you continue to struggle, and a lot of struggles really aren't the drivers. I'd be anxious to see how a guy like Mick Schumacher does jumping into the Red Bull car or vice versa. But the thing about these Red Bull guys and the Mercedes guys, and to some extent the Ferrari guys, when they're getting these opportunities in these top of the line machines, they're making it count. Because even Sergio Perez had a good year last year. I mean, he's plays second fiddle to Verstappen, but he's a good racer, and he's in contention just about every week. Great teammate too. He does what he needs to do to help the team succeed, and I'm a big fan of his. I hope he continues to do well. Let's talk a little bit about some of these. Some of the things that we want to see worked out in these cars. Obviously, we're talking about even in the playing field. That's going to be important, and when you're betting, nothing more important than starting to track these early in the season. Can any other cars win these races other than the top 3 teams? That's going to be a huge thing, because the good thing, though, about the betting markets now is we have offerings that you can kind of take those guys out, and you can bet other things to make it to get some value, because if you're just having those top 3 teams dominating each week, it's hard to find, like, okay, you're going to all of a sudden this week Zhou Guanyu is going to win. It's just you're going to get a monster payout, but
it's not happening.
But I mean, I wish. Sorry, I'm just glad Zhou Guanyu's alive after last year and his horrible accident. Most of you probably saw that. I want to talk a little bit about that. Some of the things that they had in these cars last year is the porpoising. And then just with the roll bar, the thing sticking in the ground and causing, like, his part of his car was so low it's stuck in the gravel, and then he flips over. It's incredibly dangerous, as safe as these cars are. And if you haven't seen Zhou Guanyu's wreck last year, what track was that at? Do you recall?
I thought it was the British Grand Prix?
Yeah, it may have been. I think it was. It was Great Britain. I'm pretty sure.
Got out after that. He was disqualified.
Yes, he got disqualified. We're trying to help him. So Zhou Guanyu at British Grand Prix last year, he had just a horrendous accident. You never would have thought he was alive after it. Just shows you how safe the cars are. And the halo is intact well, and he survived it, and he really wasn't even hurt. Which is remarkable. But these cars, they sit so low to the ground, and there's so much emphasis on speed and trying to be fast. Where do they draw the line, Sam? I mean,
I don't know, but if you said that crash, if you're gonna watch the crash, don't watch a TV or a syndicated version. Get a version of somebody recording it in the crowd, because then you'll really understand how quick he was on, on top of and rolling, and it's just nuts.
Those shots from the grandstand when he was coming towards them, and then hearing some of the reactions of the people,
right?
Like, oh shit, like this dude, he might come over the fence and kill us. Like, and and that thing is like, it's like almost the equivalent of like a plane or a helicopter, like bottoming out on the ground and coming at you. Like it's not like a Volkswagen Beetles, like coming towards you downtown. But Sam was coming in remarkably, and he asked about the beautiful roads down here in Wheeling.
The war zone.
That was quite
what is going on down here?
See,
fellas?
I don't think we're going to be having a Grand Prix of Wheeling anytime soon. We got to work on the roads. But so interesting perspective from an outsider. But back to Joe Guan Yu, he check that wreck out just to give you an appreciation for the risk these guys take and the amount of just speed and just, it's frightening how talented they have to be able to react and do the things that they do on these tracks, and it's just unlike anything I've ever seen. Testing starting in Bahrain, coming up here in late February. I'm looking forward to that. Let's talk about some of these new drivers. What do you know about this Piastri, Oscar Piastri from McLaren, and anything that sticks out on him? Anything you've heard? I don't know a lot about him.
Honestly, I don't know too much either. I know he's obviously very talented because he was a backup, reserve driver last year. But man, McLaren's it's the year.
Well, I hope
so.
They
have to figure it out.
I'm hoping that they get because Ricardo, who we touched on earlier, did virtually nothing last year, which is just incredible because he had good equipment. And Lando Norris, who's probably been next to Fernando Alonso, been probably like the next guy on the tier of cracking the podium, last year. And he may have had one podium, and I know Fernando Alonso at least had one. But that guy, Lando Norris from McLaren, who we're speaking of, he's kind of your next tier guy. So you got the top six guys: Verstappen, Perez, Leclerc, Sainz, Hamilton, and Russell. And then knocking on the door, Lando Norris. He's a British kid. He's really good, likable guy. Crowds love him. He's kind of been like the next closest thing. Valtteri Bottas, before George Russell took his spot at Mercedes, is a really talented driver, and he was winning races and competing in the top three every week. He's with Alfa Romeo again, along with Joe Guan Yu, who we just talked about. Oscar Piastri joins Lando Norris at McLaren. This is like a wait and see approach for me. Some of these new guys, I really don't know what to make of them. Nick DeVries comes into AlphaTauri. Pierre Gasly, another guy. Daniel Ricciardo, Pierre Gasly, Nicholas Latifi. I mean, those guys had dreadful seasons. They've all been replaced. We talked about Logan Sargent coming in at Williams for Latifi, Nick DeVries in for Pierre Gasly at AlphaTauri. Fernando Alonso makes the move over to Aston Martin. What do you think about that? Sebastian Vettel, long-time powerhouse in the sport, long-time Red Bull guy, retired. What do you think? That was an interesting move, though?
I love it.
Okay.
I have written on these notes. McLaren, it's their year.
Right.
Specifically Lando, I'm sick of hearing of how good he is without getting these podiums.
No, he's got to get it done. Yeah.
Because then it'll be silly season. Where is he going to go? But for Aston Martin, I think this is the year that they really can prove that the money that Stroll is where he's putting it is going to pay off.
I hope. I think
that Alonso's a phenomenal person to have under or above Stroll to teach him and to just be in that organization.
Right. Yeah.
Vettel was good.
Yeah.
He was good.
He was at the end.
But he was at the end, and I just think Alonso's got a lot left.
I agree.
He had a lot with Alpine.
Fernando Alonso is an incredible competitor, and one of the best, to me, one of the best guys at starting races. He's so quick.
Unbelievable.
The way he can pick off spots right in the first lap is really good. So he's a guy, too, I like to bet a lot to finish in the top 6 or the top 10. That's another thing for those of you still getting into this, wanting to learn how to bet Formula One a little bit. You get the offerings like the top 6 is a common one, and then the top 10, which in the top 10 in Formula One you score points for your season-long point total and your manufacturer's points. So those are important spots. Everybody wants top 6s. Everybody wants top 10s. That's how these guys score points. Fernando Alonso was a guy that I bet a lot last year to finish in the top 6, finish in the top 10. He was very reliable. He leaves Alpine and he goes to a different team. I'm really excited to see how he'll do. And as Sam mentioned, Aston Martin, I'm hoping that they can get to where they can compete a little bit with McLaren and Alpine a little bit. I don't know. It's going to be interesting to see Alonso adjusts, but like you say, he's very experienced. He knows what he's doing, and I think he won't have any problem. Thoughts on Pierre Gasly making a move? Anything on him?
I think that's going to blow up.
Yeah.
Because I think they both still hate each other. Because they have like a rivalry between each other, and their families hate each other.
Right.
I don't see it working. Because all these guys, they bitch at each other all the time.
Right.
And now they're on the same team.
Yeah.
I don't think it's going to work.
Yeah, he and Ocon, yeah. I think I'm kind of in the spot to fade the Alpine team this year.
You think so?
I don't know. I don't know. They worry me a little bit. I think they got good stuff, but I can see those guys having issues. But we'll see. I guess a lot of this, there's a lot of uncertainty coming into this, and I'm going to be curious to see how we do with the practice sessions and getting these guys out on the track to see what happens. What do you make of Nico Hülkenberg to Haas? And does that even move the needle at all?
No, not really. I think Haas is just going to have a bad year.
Yeah,
I do. They had some good momentum with the pole, with Kevin Magnussen winning that, and
right.
A couple good finishes, but it's like the only American team.
Yeah,
it's just tough. They're in a tough road ahead. They just don't have the funds. They don't.
I was wondering if Tenny Stewart would ever get involved.
I don't know if Steiner's the guy to lead them.
No, I don't think so. It is sad to see some of these teams. You really just don't have a chance. And we'll talk. You'll be able to notice as we're giving picks out every week. We'll be trying to give you some value, some teams that can sneak in there. And, a few times last year, I remember you told me that you thought like Vettel could get a top 10 or some of those guys. And that's what you got to look for when you're trying to make money in this, because if you're going to bet Lewis Hamilton and Max Verstappen every week, you're not going to make much money. I mean, Verstappen, though, sometimes can be a great bet. If he qualifies poorly or gets penalized and gets moved back, you can get him down around even money. That's what I like to bet him. He won from 14th last year, which is unheard of in this stuff. Yeah, so
would you say out of all the series, do you think F1's the easiest to bet?
Yes and no, because the one thing that hurts you in F1 is the mechanical failures. You just don't know. Like, you could have the most solid guy on the perfect setup on the right track, whether it's raining or shining or whatever, and everything's perfect, and then just something fails in the car. Yeah. And not that happens a lot, but like we say, these are really fine-tuned machines. Like, if one thing is off, if a pebble gets in the wrong place, things can go haywire. So that's what, to me, makes it difficult. I think as you go on and you start to learn who's good at what tracks and which teams do well on certain. The days where I think that you can do the best are on the days where it's raining out, or you have some situations like that, or like I mentioned, where Verstappen gets pushed to the back for whatever. He had something wrong with his qualifying car, that it was off, and they penalized him time or whatever, and they moved him back further into the field. I think you can get good value on people then, and I do like the reading about what the potential pit strategies will be, one stop, two stop, in certain teams that are better at that than others. And you can kind of split the difference, that one of their drivers would be on a two-stop, one would be on a one, or however you can kind of try to gain some value there. But I would say it could be the easiest to bet if all things are considered. Yes, I would agree with that. But there's the mechanical failures. You just never know. You could have the perfect pick, and it just doesn't go right.
But I just look at Alpine, I look at Ferrari. Right. It's like they fucked over their drivers countless times last year, simply mechanical.
Yeah. They didn't even give him a chance. So I would say, if you got the top six guys, although I'm not a Ferrari guy, I really struggle to trust those guys.
I'm not either.
They are very up and down to me, and I like to play the Ferrari guys only when they're off. Like, I would play if they had a failure the one week, then I would end up betting them the next week, because they kind of bounce back a little bit, at least the one who did. But so many times last year, both Ferrari drivers, one of the guys would be out of the race really fast.
They also crashed.
Yes.
Like, nothing wrong.
Yep.
Like, they just
smashing
fucking would crash.
Yeah. I'm not a Ferrari guy. Maybe they bounce back a little bit, but I think Mercedes overtakes them for the second best team this year.
I hope. I'd love to see Lewis come storming back. Yeah. I was all over Lewis towards the end of the year. That's all I would text you about.
He was getting momentum. And I think that's going to be good for the sport if he and Max are battling it out each week. And, you throw George in the mix, and, a couple of them other guys that can knock on the door. Sergio Perez not going away. The race schedule, 23 races, the most we've ever had in F1, which was really cool. Chinese Grand Prix out again because of COVID, so we won't be going over there.
Sorry, China.
Sadly.
Sorry.
And the really most exciting part about the schedule, as we talk about it briefly, is the 3 stops in the United States this year. I think it's super cool. You got the race at COTA, which is the Circuit of the Americas. You have the race in Miami, and then you have the new race at Las Vegas, in downtown in Las Vegas. What are your thoughts on these, especially on the Vegas one?
I think it's going to be great. I'd love to get a ticket, but I don't. I can't afford the mortgage payment for the ticket.
Yes.
I think it's overall it's just going to be good. I hope the racing is good though. I know it's going to look good on TV. Right, it's going to look good if you're there, but if the racing isn't good, then what's the point?
I'm hoping,
for me at least.
I'm thinking
somebody that enjoys good racing.
Maybe by then we can get Jubb to apply for a media credential for the Pine Room podcast and Bettor's Last Stand.
Could you imagine?
We can go. I don't know what we got to do to get that, but I don't think it's got to be too much. So that might be a way to do it.
Could you imagine if Brundle walked into the job on a grid walk?
Yeah. That's another thing. Sam brings up a good point there. Martin Brundle does these incredible grid walks the morning of the race. He sees celebrities and celebrity following in Formula One. You can see some of the most famous people, and I'm talking like dignitaries and basically monarchs of some of these countries that are out on this grid walk before the race. You see all kinds of athletes, all kinds of celebrities, movie stars, music, everything. It's a really cool thing when they have the pre-race show on ESPN each morning. It's worth a watch. It can get a little annoying sometimes, but I like it. It's better than the NASCAR version, that's for sure. We'll talk about that.
We'll get to that. That was brutal.
Yeah, Michael Waltrip, he tries, but it's terrible. So Martin Brundle's version of it, much better. I'm pretty pumped up about these. I'm really glad that they're starting to come to the U.S. more, and I'm hoping that I know that they're doing things different in Miami this year. COTA will be the same, and then the Vegas one, I'm hoping it goes all without a hitch. Be a lot of money out there. It's going to be really cool. Yeah. As you say, it's going to really pop on TV. It's around Thanksgiving, coming up here towards the end of 23. Gonna be really cool. I hope it goes well, and I hope they stay there for a long time, because it's definitely something that I'd love to go to at some point. It's exciting. I'm glad that they're able to do this, because coming across the world to North America 3 times is a lot. I mean, they hit Mexico as well. So in one of the their stops, they come to the United States, and then they go to Mexico, and then they go down to Brazil, and then back up to Vegas. So they kind of stay, indirectly in our hemisphere, which is good. But just the travel, Bahrain to start it off, Saudi Arabia, then down to Australia, then back up to Azerbaijan, then to Miami, and then to Italy, then Monaco, then Spain, Canada, Austria, Britain, Hungary, Belgium, the Netherlands, back to Italy, Singapore, Japan, Qatar, United States at COTA, Mexico.
It's totally wild.
Brazil, Vegas, and Abu Dhabi. I mean, just that alone. As you hear those cities, none of those are cheap cities to visit, to live in, anything. So incredible visually pops on TV. Really neat. The rain races are cool. What are some of your other favorite tracks? I'm very partial to Monaco. I love that track. Very, very.
Honestly, I love COTA. I think COTA, that first stretch when they have all those fans, and then everybody right as the race, green light, they sprint to that corner, and then whoever gets that corner, it's like.
No, COTA was a really good race. I do think that's a good racetrack for all everybody. NASCAR that visits there, and that F1 has made that a regular stop on the schedule is really cool. And it is a very good fan friendly track. And a lot of these road courses, you only see the cars a couple of times, but you want to get when you get a spot, you want to have a spot where there's some action, where you're going to see some passing, some guys trading rubber, so to speak. In the NASCAR, it might be paint and rubber, but it's quite something to see. What do you think about these rule changes? They raised the floor up 15 millimeters to make sure that the cars don't dig in the ground, kind of like how Joe Guan Yu got caught to flip last year. Any thoughts? Do you think that changes things a lot? They wanted to make them higher, but they met them in between. So
I think it'll help. I think the porpoising looked terrible.
Yes.
Just from TV, it looked brutal. It didn't look enjoyable. It 60 sometimes around the track with porpoising.
It's so bumpy. It's like driving downtown.
It does. It's literally just.
And for those of you who don't know, porpoising is basically like the porpoise, the dolphin, bottlenose dolphin, whatever you want to call it. It's going up and down, and it gives the image that the car is like really unbalanced and going up and down, like you got bad shocks. And these things, they couldn't figure it out on a lot of the models last year. I know the Mercedes really was bad. I mean, Lewis Hamilton basically his feet were like just smashing up off the top of the inside of the car because it was doing it so badly. You'd like to see them get that worked out this year. Hopefully they will with the testing. And then they're adding larger mirrors this year.
I mean, I think
that even matters.
I actually don't at all think it. I think it's more or less to cover their ass just in case something worse happens.
Yes.
But I was actually going to go back to the schedule here.
Yes.
Do you think 3 is the max that the U.S. needs?
I would say it's a good point. I can't. You can't get greedy and think they deserve more than 3. Until I'll be different if the United States had capital and money invested in this to the point where they were winning the races or they had a top team. I think if that ever would happen, I think that you may see an extra race added. But I think 3 times coming to the United States is pretty cool. I don't know where else they could go if they could do a Chicago street race or kind of like NASCAR's going to do and IndyCar's done. But I mean, I'm happy with the 3. I think it's great, and they are 3 good spots. So I'm happy with that for now, but always would be willing to add more as different areas of the country. Obviously, Russia isn't having one anymore. They're pretty much done from everything.
Yeah,
so
one driver
I'm surprised that Azerbaijan's still in the mix because it is in a dangerous area, adjacent to some war. But you never know what could go on in some of these areas of the Middle East and Mexico and.
But
Brazil.
if you look, they start in March.
Right.
They go all the way to November.
Yeah.
You can't add too many more. I know they have the summer break in there too,
right. It's just so grueling. I really wonder what it's like. You think about one thing about the drivers and stuff, and the managers and stuff, but the pit crew guys and so many technical analysts that travel with these teams. Dozens and dozens of them. I wonder what it's like for them. I guess they just get ready. I mean, it's just like being on a constant road trip. It's basically like playing baseball, 162 game baseball season, and really barely ever coming home because you're only getting a little bit of time in between. And I'm sure these people are based all over the world, where their actual homes are, and then they're coming to where their teams are based, and then they're working out of there. And then they're traveling constantly. And, man, don't lose your passport. That's all I can say.
That Azerbaijan to Miami week is that's a doozy.
Yes, that's very grueling. All right, well, we're going to conclude the Formula One. I'm just going to give you a little bit of rundown as far as what I think as far as the championship. It's too early for us to give picks on the Bahrain, and we're going to have Sam on regularly on the Bettor's Last Stand show to give you Skype in, Zoom in to get his picks each week, and we'll post them on Twitter and on the Instagram on the Bettor's Last Stand and the Pine Room page. But thoughts? I mean, does anybody knock Max off for the championship this year?
Who's the only person highlighted?
The only guy I got. So look, I got orange, he's got green. Yeah, it's it. It's as simple as that. I want to say I hope that we see a few other winners than we did last year, but I just can't give anybody any recommendation other than Max Verstappen now.
He's so good.
He's dominating. He's just locked in. He's got the best equipment. And I just don't see. I mean, last year Red Bull won 17 races. He won 15 of them. Sergio won twice. Carlos Sainz had a win. Charles Leclerc won twice, and George Russell, and that was it. So I really want to see more, but we'll continue to clue you in as time goes on here. We do the testing. We do the qualifying for the Bahrain. We'll have notes on that stuff and start getting our picks formulated here in early March for that race. And it's exciting, and I'm looking forward to it, Sam.
Yeah, me too. And if you want to be smart and not pick Verstappen, the only other choices are a Ferrari driver or a Mercedes driver.
Right.
And it's probably not George. No offense, George.
Yeah, probably Lewis. Probably Lewis, I guess, maybe dethrones him, but I don't even know if he can. I mean, it's going to take a great season. Because you even figure if Verstappen has a down year from last year, what's he going to win, 12?
15
like 11?
I mean, crazy.
Yeah.
It's totally crazy.
It's hard to imagine, but he's dominant. He's going for his 3rd championship in a row. I wouldn't try to dethrone him. But next, we're going to switch over to IndyCar now, and we're going to talk about maybe, just maybe, a more diverse operation here, and I think we absolutely will. So we won't even take a break. We're going to go right into IndyCar.
Let's do it.
I know Sam's pretty pumped about this. This circuit, very, very wide open. Lots of good teams, lots of changes, lots of interesting things in the last few years where these teams are starting to grow. Cars are getting added. 2-car teams are going to 3. You got your top 2 teams, Ganassi and Penske, and then you got the McLaren operation, who now goes with a 3rd car, Alexander Rossi, joining them. I really am excited about this. I think this might. I agree with you. I think IndyCar this year probably its best and most competitive year that we've ever had. Opening thoughts on what we expect to see here in IndyCar.
Yeah, fired up for IndyCar. My gut is just telling me that all these drivers in IndyCar, out of all the series, are the most talented.
Right.
And because there are so many of these drivers that are reserves for F1. They want F1 tests.
Right.
They want everything to do with F1. They all want to get to F1, but there are so many guys that have raced in other, racing series like McLaughlin.
Yes.
He's watch out for him.
He's really good. He was a rookie last year, right, Scott?
2 years ago, I believe.
2 years ago. Yeah.
2 years ago. Yeah. So, but yeah, IndyCar is so talented. There are so many drivers every week that could win. It's not like, NASCAR is very similar. You can pretty much pick out,
right?
With these new cars, you don't know who's going to win, but you can pretty much in F1 pick out who's going to win. But with IndyCar, there were so many different winners. Just the driving is what I put above everything else on all these other series.
Yeah, and you get to see when they're on these oval speedways, especially it's nuts. You got these cars going at a ridiculous amount of speed. And you would think, like, obviously the F1 cars could never do that. They would, it would be terrible disintegrations. But these Indy cars are, just enough that they can actually do it at these ovals, or even semi-ovals. Like Indy's not really. Indianapolis Motor Speedway is not really. It's almost like a square rectangle.
Yeah, it's a very odd track.
Yeah, it's a very straight away and then almost a complete 90-degree turn to the.
I'm glad you brought that up though, because I have a pick to win it already.
Okay.
Well, I know you can't do it without qualifying.
Well,
it's tough, but my gut instinct tells me that it's his year to get the win at Indy.
Are you going to release this now, or are we going to wait?
No,
okay,
I can
go ahead. Fire away.
Joseph Newgarden.
Okay, I like
W at the Indy 500.
Oh, well, it wouldn't surprise me. He won 5 times last year, and just as Sam was talking about, just the diversity in this series. Last year, I was lucky enough to have Marcus Ericsson. Yeah, he won the Indy 500 last year. Had a nice ticket on him. That was a very good day for me. I was pretty pumped up. Great race, but a lot of different winners last year. You had Will Power won once, Joseph Newgarden, as Sam just mentioned, 5 times, Scott McLaughlin 3 times, Alex Palou once, Ericsson once, Pato O'Ward twice, Alexander Rossi once, Felix Rosenquist. Oh, no, he did not win. I'm sorry. Colton Herta won. But Rosenquist, again, a solid top 10 season, a couple poles and a podium finish. But, yeah, you got a lot more diversity there. You got some really good teams, as I mentioned. You got the McLaren teams with O'Ward, Rosenquist, and Rossi now. I mean, what do you think about them? I look for that team to make a big leap this year. What do you think?
Yeah, I think they're going to have a great year. I mean, you brought up the Indy 500 last year. I mean, who was Ericsson getting tailed by? He was getting tailed by a McLaren.
Yep.
I mean, if you want to watch 2 good laps of racing,
great stuff.
2022 Indy 500 last 2 laps.
Yep.
That's what gets me fired up for this year. It's as good as it gets. I mean, there was bobbing, there was weaving, there was passing.
Yep.
It was beautiful, but like you asked, I think that they're going to have a good year, but the Team Penske, the Power, Newgarden, McLaughlin, they're too good. I mean, look here.
Yeah.
Look at the wins and look at the laps led. It's Team Penske.
Yep, Team Penske, Joseph Newgarden, McLaughlin, and Will Power, all very formidable guys in the circuit and have been for a long time. And then the Ganassi team, Ericsson, Dixon, Palou, and I don't know. I think they're going to run. Takuma Sato's going to run some oval races for him, and some other guys.
That's a good sleeper.
Yeah, he is. He's
a
very
good oval sleeper.
And Sato's won the Indy 500. How many? 3 times? At least twice. At least twice.
I know twice.
Yeah,
pretty recently too.
Yeah, just a few years ago. Always dangerous on there. Veteran, very experienced. So you'll see some guys like that making starts. Tony Kanaan, another guy that'll race. Here and there. I want to say, is he going to go with McLaren? I heard that he was going to be their 4th car in the bigger races. So Elio Castro Neves will be at it again.
Tell you what, he might if he gets another one, man.
Yeah, well, I mean, he's never out of it. He just knows how to just race there. He's just perfect for whatever team he's racing with at the time, or whoever, whatever. He gets thrown in there quickly, and he just knows what he's doing.
I mean, you hit the nail on the head, because he just won the Rolex 24 again for their 3rd straight.
Incredible
race, man.
Incredible racer. Any teams? I mean, did you see any improvements in the Andretti operation or the Rahal operation?
I mean, a little bit. I think everybody improved, but like I said, I think that it is so talented, and the field is it's so vast and so much bigger than the F1 field that I look at all these guys, and I've seen them in the top 5s. I've seen them, lead laps.
Yep.
It really is just a flip of the coin. You don't really know who's going to who's going to win these.
And a lot of it is strategy, set up, certain things like that. And then you got to be aware of, and this is a very common thing in NASCAR we'll talk about, is just like, so they say, a horse for course, guys who are really good on certain tracks. And that's where you can kind of get some value. Sometimes odds makers don't realize that, and they don't adjust as well. I noticed that a lot of NASCAR already. I have some early thoughts on Daytona when we talk about it. Just some guys that I thought are overvalued quickly, and then some guys that never get the respect by the odds makers that they should, and it surprises me. But so that's something we'll talk about as the season goes on. In Indy, F1, it doesn't really matter. It's Verstappen versus the world.
It is.
But how about let me ask you this: Chevy last year just completely dominated, really, with 11 wins. Obviously, you don't see much change in there with Penske being backed by Chevy. Does Honda make any improvements? Obviously, the McLaren guys are Chevys too, so I think Chevy probably dominates again.
I think Chevy dominates. I gave out an Indy pick. I'll give out a championship winner pick.
Oh, beautiful! That's what I want to hear.
Scott McLaughlin.
There you go.
He is my driver. He is a 3-time or I believe 4-time Australian Supercars champion.
Yeah, and
which is nothing.
8-1.
Yeah, he's 8-1. He's so talented. I think he has 3 career wins total, which doesn't sound like a lot.
No, but he was in so many races last year. I like that pick. I think it's good. I'm gonna wait until quite the end, or right at the end of the segment, I think, to give mine. But I will say this: I expect McLaughlin to have a huge season, and I agree with you. I think the Chevys will be very good. I'm going to be back in McLaren's a lot. Let me ask you about this team. This is a team that I like. They got some guys. I've always been a Rinus VeeKay fan. He has had a lot of bad luck. He's driving for Ed Carpenter. I've bet Rinus a few times in the 500. Connor Daly, very experienced driver, had some success as well. You see any other teams under the radar that you think maybe could make some leaps? Anybody stick out? I mean, that was the only team that I thought outside of the top 3 contenders, and then as we mentioned, the Ray Hall and Andretti back teams. But I thought maybe the Ed Carpenter team can be. They're probably going to be all right in the ovals, but I don't know about their other stuff. What do you think?
I don't think they'll be.
No,
I don't think they'll be what they should be.
Right.
To be honest.
Yeah.
But I think anybody that likes like Kyle Kirkwood, I think he's a very, very good driver coming off a good rookie year.
Yes. Yep.
Like I said, there's so much talent that a lot of these guys that finished, lower in the pack,
right,
they got a lot to prove this year. And
Kirkwood's with Andretti, right? I believe, yeah. So he's driving the Honda for Andretti. So keep an eye on him. He can be a good up-and-comer. When you get a new guy into these series, you never know how they're going to adjust. They could take the world by storm. It's very possible, and you can get great early season odds on them, especially in some of the first couple of races of the year before odds makers adjust or people start to realize, okay, maybe that was a fluke or whatever. But if these guys have strong equipment, which he will, the Andretti Hondas are going to be pretty strong. So, you take a shot early on. You never know. You can get an incredible price on him. Let's talk a little bit about the schedule. We've got 7 road courses, 5 street races, 5 ovals. Street race at Detroit, Circuit of Detroit or something like that, I believe. But that's a new one. They changed that. Detroit's had a race for a while, but they are switching the circuit. Any thoughts? Anything stand out as far as the schedule for IndyCar?
I mean, I love starting with the 500.
I think I have it on the second page. I think it is. I know we got so many notes. I think it's down on the bottom. They start out in St. Petersburg on March the 5th. And then to Texas. So Texas is always an interesting one to me, just how fast they go with that death trap of, although they changed it, it's not as bad as it used to be. Long Beach, and then you got the couple of Indy coming up there in May, the road course in the oval, and then the streets of Detroit. That'll be one we've never seen before. It's always interesting how these new tracks, how the teams will like them, how the drivers will adjust. I don't know. Any thoughts? Mostly the same places. Worldwide Tech, and then they come back to the Indy road course for a second time. Anything stick out?
I don't like that they do Laguna Seca last.
Yeah,
I think Laguna Seca is a great track.
I do too. I like
think
Laguna Seca.
Visually great for TV.
Yes.
I don't think it should be last in September.
Yeah.
When all the good sports are coming back.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think Laguna Seca could arguably be like the first race of the year. I mean, and they get pretty good weather out there, so I would say I'd like to see him move that up. But I mean, the Mid-Ohio keeps their race. Iowa's got a couple. I mean, Streets of Nashville, that's a pretty cool one.
Why do they do this with Iowa?
Why
do they do the 2-day?
I don't understand it. I don't know. I don't know if it's just set up so it's hard to get to and they only want to go there once. I don't know.
Maybe.
It might be. Maybe. I don't know. That's the only thing I can think of. But they run those races back-to-back days, which
I'm pretty sure they had pretty good turnouts though.
Yeah, they have. I don't. Maybe it has to have something to do with that area of the country being hard to access.
Cornfields.
Like they only want to go there once. But yeah, I don't think people really want to live in Iowa. But then again, who am I to judge? Look at my roads out here in front of this beautiful Pine Room studio. No potholes in here though.
Nope.
All right, so I'm gonna go to my bet to win the championship this year. I'm going to kind of cheat on this a little bit. I am going to say it's going to be one of the 3 McLaren. I know I'm a little bit biased, so I'm going to go with Pato O'Ward as my top pick there. And then I would say Rosenquist. I doubt Rossi could win it, but I do like your pick, and I agree with you. I think that McLaughlin's going to be really tough to stop. What do you think about Scott Dixon? We haven't talked about him.
Iceman.
Legendary driver's been really... Honestly, that's a bad luck gas stuff last year in the Indy 500.
Terrible.
He's had a good enough car.
I totally forgot about that.
Yeah. So I mean, Scott Dixon is a really good driver. He's been around for a really long time. Won the Indy 500. Now, geez, at least twice, maybe 3. But he's a guy. I mean, you can't ever really rule him out. He's around 10-1 to win the championship. I wouldn't totally discredit his chances. And Will Power's another guy. He's the second choice right now. Joseph Newgarden's the favorite, rightfully so. I think Newgarden is going to be tough. I think McLaughlin's going to be tough. Oh, you picked Newgarden. Sorry, I said McLaughlin, but yeah, you did. That was your pick, right? Joseph Newgarden
to win the 500.
To win the 500.
McLaughlin to win.
Oh, championship. All right, got you. There we go. So Newgarden on the 500. Scott McLaughlin to win the championship. I like it. I'm going to go with the guys from McLaren. Hopefully they can get it together. I was thinking about taking a shot on Renus VK. Well, I don't think I'll bet Roman Grosjean, but anyway, once you get down past about the top 10 of these guys, you probably don't have much of a chance. Colton Herta, Palo, Dixon, Erickson, and then it kind of stops. But and IndyCar is going to be interesting. I'm looking forward to it. We're going to give you some great picks each week on these different circuits as we go around. And again, that the first race in Indy is March the 5th. And you got the first race in Bahrain on March the 5th. You got a giant day of racing on March the 5th. I think the Cup guys are somewhere that day too. Yeah, Vegas. So you got 3 races on March the 5th. A racing triple header. Sam and I are going to be pumped up about that. Going to have racing all day long from the very early hours in the morning all the way through to the early hours of the evening. So circle that on your calendar. Any closing thoughts on Open Wheel? Anything in your notes that we didn't talk about
I'm just
you want to hit on?
I'm looking at these numbers here just for the championship winners, and you see like the dailies a plus 10,000.
Right.
And Elio's 7,500, but all of these guys can win a race.
Oh yeah.
Like Daly led laps in the 500.
Yes.
Like Kirkwood's top 5s, Grosjean's good, VK's top 5, Rossi's won the 500.
Yeah. And they didn't have. I was going to get odds. Be looking. Some of the books are starting to pop this stuff up now. So your championship odds at most of the places are up, but until they're getting some more data on the actual tracks themselves. NASCAR the soonest to begin, but you'll start to see the opening races for Indy and Formula One starting to pop here in the next week or so. At some of the books. So be looking for those. We're going to try to give you value all year. We're not going to sit here and tell you. We already told you Max Verstappen's be hard to beat. So don't even bet that. Yeah. That's the best value you're going to get. If you can get Verstappen around even money each week, it's definitely a good bet because he is far lower price than even money no matter what track he's at, no matter what situation he's facing. So anyway, we're going to take a break here on the Bettor's Last Stand Racing Preview Show. We're going to come back and we're going to talk about the stock cars and the trucks. We'll be right back on Bettor's Last Stand Racing Preview Edition.
Reminder, Bettor's Last Stand is for informational and entertainment purposes only. All wagering activity should only be conducted by those 21 years of age or older and within the confines of federal, state, and local law. If you or someone you know has a gambling problem, contact 1-800-GAMBLER. That's 1-800-426-2537. You're watching Bettor's Last Stand.
All right, welcome back into the Bettor's Last Stand Racing Preview Show. Sam here, along with Matt. It's been fun so far. We did all our open wheel stuff. Just cool stuff ahead. We're really excited about the value that IndyCar is going to provide us. So we're going to be giving you picks all season long on F1 and IndyCar. We're going to find some value there for you in the Indy especially, but the betting markets in F1 very expansive, even more than any of the other races or racing circuits. So anyway, we're going to shift our attention now to NASCAR. And NASCAR is a operation, I guess to say the least. It's been around for a long time. They continue to add, they continue to change, and I think NASCAR is on the up and up as well. I think they went through some down times when all the greats retired, unfortunately passed away. Dale Earnhardt, Mark Martin, Jeff Gordon, Terry Labonte, on and on, Bobby Labonte, Rusty Wallace. Away. Right. Only Dale Earnhardt, but Dale Jarrett. I mean, you had so many great drivers. That was kind of like the marquee time in NASCAR. That's when I got into NASCAR, as a young kid, and it's been great. Went through a few years where it wasn't nearly as good, but I think NASCAR is doing a good job of bringing it back. I think they're getting it popular again. Some of the things I don't love, but overall I do. I think their heart's in the right spot. Their brains are pretty much in the right spot. They're trying. Obviously we talked about the clash and some of the drawbacks of it, and hopefully they'll continue to fine tune and adjust and maybe move it around a little bit. But and nonetheless, I'm very pleased with NASCAR again. I feel like it's starting to. The stands are starting to fill back up. People are starting to get into it again. I'm seeing NASCAR leagues popping up places and things like that. So I'm excited to talk about it. The first part of the series, NASCAR obviously is in three different series run on the NASCAR circuit of the main NASCAR circuit. You have the Camping World Trucks, the Xfinity series, and then the big headliners, the Cup series. So we're going to start talking about the trucks. I know not a ton. I mean, the trucks to me are always like an appetizer.
Right.
It's like Sam will text me like on a Friday night, or your Uncle Chris will text me and be like, "Oh, the truck race is on," and that kind of like whets your appetite for Sunday
weekend,
and
yep.
even Saturday too for the Xfinity series. The truck race is a good circuit. I mean, I do like it, but
they look good.
Yeah, and you get exciting races. I tell you that. Watch
yeah.
those races at Daytona. The trucks and the Xfinity series will be just as good or better than the Cup race. You'll get frustrated though, because you could have a great car, a guy you have on, he's 40-1, and he gets wrecked at the last lap, and the overtime and all that stuff plays a role, and it can be infuriating when they can't get started back up, and there's another crash and another crash and another crash. And then there's barely any guys left. Just opening thoughts on the truck series, anything that stands out to you. Obviously, we're both looking forward to see how Hailie Deegan's going to do this year.
Honestly, that's the only thing that's on my mind is she needs a win. Yeah. They need a woman to be able to drive and prove that she can drive. I mean, with the men, obviously it's a male-dominated sport, but, you've had Danica try.
Yes.
There's other females that drive, but it seems like all these female series – and in every series of racing that gets like these funding, they don't work. Yeah,
I know, and I'm really pulling for her. I really like her. I think she's a really talented girl, and she's a young girl. I mean, she was a dominating racer before she got to this Camping World Truck Series. She got an opportunity in the number one truck, and now she's making a move. She's moving from Toyota to Ford to the Thor Sport Racing. She's going to drive the number 13, and this is a huge year for her. She never had a top 5. She did have a couple top 10s, but I really hope that with this equipment and this change for her, that she can get over the hump. I really would like to see. And again, Sam and I aren't sitting here trying to tell, like a lot of people in this world to say, oh, we got to have women win. We got to have. I think it would be cool for the sport. I think it's great to see it be diverse and that other people that maybe wouldn't have tried it. Maybe she inspired somebody to do it. And, I'm not expecting any handouts. These guys aren't going to give her any races. These guys are competing for their livelihood and their jobs. So, I mean, we by no means are thinking that, but it would be really cool to see her. I think she's going to have good equipment. And I don't know. I'm hoping she can break through. I'm hoping that at least this year she starts to run in the top 10 regularly and knocks on the door, gets a couple top 5s, and then, maybe gets into a chance to win. Do you think she can pull it off?
I do.
Uphill battle.
I think she can win because she had some ARCA wins that were good.
Yes, she
did. People
did.
don't know what ARC is. That's just like I don't even want to say like the minors of
right, but it kind of is. Yeah, they run a lot of the same circuits.
The minors for NASCAR, but
different kind of car, all standardized type car. A lot of times they would run these at the same tracks that the NASCAR, the Cup Series or the Xfinity Series are in that weekend. Sometimes there'll be an ARCA race on a Thursday or Friday night at the same venue. So a lot of guys would race in ARCA and made their starts there. So it's a good builder series. It really is. And if you can consistently, guys will say, if you can consistently perform well in ARCA, then you got a shot. And that's kind of where guys and girls in this case will take their next step. So I hope she can do it. I think it's something to keep an eye on. I think you could get some decent odds on her early in the season. We'll monitor Haley and see how she does, and hopefully
these Kyle Busch to run 5 races. Bet him to win all 5 of those races.
Yes.
And Kyle Busch Motorsports.
Yes.
Are they not running?
No, they're not going to run a full circuit. They're a full season. I thought that was interesting because he had a guy that I thought was going to run Chase Purdy, but I saw conflicting articles. So some of this stuff, honestly, and here's something that Sam knows that a lot of you might not realize. A lot of these truck and Xfinity series, these smaller teams. Now Kyle Busch is obviously not a small team, but when you're trying to get drivers who are committed to other things, there's a lot to work out. There's a lot of these teams that are waiting for funding to come through, for sponsorships, last minute stuff. There's guys right now who probably don't know if they're going to be driving every race this year, or they're going to only drive 6, or they're going to drive 15, or they're going to drive 20. They're going to do a split with another driver. There's a lot of things, and you wouldn't expect that in a operation where you can win money, and these are some of the better drivers in the world at their trade. But a lot of times they're waiting to the last minute to see what happens. This Chase Purdy was supposed to be driving for Kyle Busch Motorsports this year, so we'll keep an eye on that. But Sam is right. Kyle signed on to drive 5 times this year. Coda, Martinsville, the first Kansas race, and Pocono. He's dominating when he's out there. He's really he's just a great racer all the way around, and it is fun to see the young guys take shots at him and try to pass him, and then when he's right up against them and the pressure starts to build, and it's like, oh man, I got one of the best NASCAR drivers ever right behind me, tapping on my back bumper. It makes for interesting stuff. I like to take shots sometimes against him. Sometimes I'll bet it in play, live wagering. So that's another thing too. Live wagering in this racing is starting to take off too. It's starting to expand. So you're getting some really, really good opportunities. Guys have issues, things, they stay on the lead lap, they're still in contention, their car's not damaged, whatever. You can find some good spots to bet guys out of bad situations where if they cut a tire, whatever it may be, and that's in all the circuits. Now the Indy cars in the F1, it depends on the track, and time is so important in those races on certain ones. But if you're in oval speedways and you have cautions and you have things where you can catch up, get laps back, things like that, guys are never really out of it. So I think taking shots with guys in play, especially at the super speedways, when we talk about the trucks, the Xfinity, and the Cup races, how, Sam, a guy can be 20th and then all of a sudden he's second. Like, it changes so quickly.
I think of the Matt Kenseth 2007 Daytona 500. He was in, with 10 laps to go, he was probably in like 14th place.
Yeah.
And he just stayed the course. He found the higher low. He found the rate,
and he gets the drafting partners.
Got the draft. He got a bump. He won it.
Yeah. It's incredible, and don't ever get scared off when you see your driver, especially at Daytona, Talladega. You see your driver back 19th, 17th, 21st. Don't panic, because if your guy's keeping up or your girl's keeping up with the speed and is in the draft and has a decent setup, you can see that stuff when they qualify or when they run in those heat races and some of the practice. If they got a good car and you believe their car is good and they showed speed throughout the week of practice and qualifying, take a shot, because you're going to get an opportunity to make up track position that you can't do at other tracks. So that's the drafting. If you're not familiar with that principle, it's basically cars in a line are going to go faster than one car by itself, and then the opportunity to slingshot around using momentum. So a car steps on a line, a couple guys follow him, get the push. It's incredible. It really, NASCAR and all this racing really brings in your geometry, physics, all these things you thought you never use, and I don't care about any of it except in this capacity.
Right.
I do like them there. You see it in baseball with your launch angles and all that stuff. you have stuff. The stuff in math class and all these in physics class.
The
that you
shit
like,
we never took serious.
I don't care about this, but
now I do.
It does apply in real world stuff. Now I don't know how real world this is because none of us are going to be doing it, but we are going to be betting on it. So keep that in mind when you're betting on these. I really think the values on these super speedway races are just huge. You get 2 at Daytona, you get 2 at Talladega, and then you get basically a couple in each of these series. So you're getting 3 a weekend when they go to there. So I think there's plenty of other tracks that have it too. Opportunities for in-play wagering for sure. But those are the ones that stand out immediately to me. Wrapping up here with the trucks, Zane Smith is going to run the Cup race in Daytona for Front Row Motorsports. What do you think about him? Do you think he's an up-and-comer? You see a future for him?
Yeah, definitely. I definitely can see Zane Smith definitely in the Xfinity next couple years.
Yeah.
To Cup. I think a lot of these people, they're going to have to shuffle to Cup because Cup's kind of getting a little old.
Yes. Yeah.
Which we'll get to that. But
yeah. And Zane Smith, who is the defending series champion, he's getting his shot in Xfinity this season.
I'm kind of shocked he didn't get a ride for Xfinity, honestly.
Yeah, I know, and he probably deserves one. But
yeah.
I think his time will come. I think he's going to be a good up and comer. Travis Pastrana is going to try to race at Daytona.
I got that on my list for the Cup series.
So, okay, perfect. And then some of these rookies in the Camping World. This Rajay Caruth guy. African American kid, supposed to be really talented. I'm looking forward to see how he's going to do. I don't know much about Nick Sanchez, Brett Holmes, Jake Garcia, or Daniel Dye. Any of those guys, you hear anything on them? I found very little stuff. These guys, they're trying to crack through for an opportunity. So
Daniel Dye sounds like a left fielder for the White Sox. So, no offense to him, he's way more talented.
Jermaine Dye, remember him? Yeah,
he was good.
Yeah, he was. He had some good runs. But all right, so now let's talk a little bit about the Truck Series, the championship. As far as betting goes, do we see anybody breaking through here to knock Zane Smith off?
I don't think so.
Yeah, I would say I had 2 guys. I thought Ty Majeski and Stuart Friesen maybe the guys that I kind of liked, but man, I think he really it's not like Max Verstappen-esque.
No, it's not.
But I mean he's gonna be hard to beat. I mean he's probably got the best truck set up each week. I mean, he won, I don't even know how many times. There's at least probably 4 or 5. He runs well at all the tracks. Like he's got wins at Texas, at Daytona. He's very multifaceted. I mean, Phoenix. I mean, so he's run flat tracks, bank speedways, all kinds of stuff. So that makes it tough. So for those of you unaware of that, NASCAR has so many different varieties of tracks. You have short tracks, Bristol, Martinsville, Richmond. Those are very tight corners, thin, narrow, short turns. The lap times are very low or slow, I guess you could say. Well, actually not. They're actually quicker. They're not going as fast, but the lap time is actually like Bristol's like 15 seconds for a circuit, so the laps tick off pretty quickly. But yeah, the short tracks, you have your intermediate tracks, and then you have your super speedways like Talladega and Daytona that we were talking about, and you also have your road courses. So good variety. But I want to try to say that I think I can beat Zane Smith. So Ty Majeski and Stuart Friesen were 2 guys I thought. I was always very partial to Matt DiBenedetto. I think he's a very good racer. I just don't think his team is good enough for him to be able to win here, and so I probably won't be taking a shot with him. The Thor Sports team is interesting to me with Majeski, Kraft, and Ben Rhodes, really good racers. I don't know if any of them can win the championship. Ben Rhodes has before. They're also the teammates with Haley Deegan. So she has 3 really good those are 3 good drivers that they have. So perhaps one of those guys could break out and make a run for the championship. I thought Corey Heim maybe was decent too. I thought he could, but I just don't know how good his team is. But Tricon, they got decent guys as well. But I'm not prepared to go out on a limb and make a prediction. To anybody going to knock off Zane Smith, who would you go with?
DiBenedetto.
Okay, I like that
because he was in the Cup Series.
He's a good driver.
I can't believe he didn't get a ride. It's actually a shame that he's
I agree with you.
down in the Truck Series.
Matt DiBenedetto was a guy I always was betting in restrictor plate races, and he was really good. He was very good at Talladega and Daytona, and he was really good at Bristol too. And I thought that was a weird combination, but I like DiBenedetto. I'm surprised he hasn't got up to at least Xfinity, but I guess it really doesn't matter. He's basically just waiting for a chance to get back into the Cup. So 25-1, I would not talk anybody off him. He's a very experienced driver. He can win anywhere. Grant Enfinger, another guy I think is a good driver. I'm not sure he can win the championship, but he'll be a name you'll hear. We'll be giving you'll be hearing a lot of these race names throughout the season as we give you our picks for the weekly races at each track. You're gonna get to know some of these guys as we go down through the trucks in the Xfinity and the Cup every week. But all right, so we're gonna move on from Cup. So Zane Smith, the man to beat in trucks. Zane Smith, the man to beat. Sam's going with DiBenedetto as his second choice. I liked Majeski or Friesen, but I agree with DiBenedetto as well. I'd like to see him make a move. All right, let's jump into Xfinity next. Top two drivers from Xfinity, actually really three if you want to count Allmendinger in there, but all make the jump up to Cup full time. Who's going to take over for him now? Who's going to be the dominating guy this year? Any thoughts on that early on?
Barry or Allgaier?
Okay, I agree. I agree with that. I really like Barry. And Allgaier to me is a guy. I hate for him that he's never advanced any, and he's so solid, and I like him a lot, and I root for him a lot, and I bet him a lot. He just never made the jump. I don't know what it is. I don't know what scares teams off from him. What do you think it is?
I think what it is like Josh Berry and all. I'm pretty sure they both race for Junior Motorsports.
Yeah, they do.
Gregson just raced for Junior Motorsports, and they don't have a charter, so they can't push these guys to the Cup. So this is as high as they can get.
Yes.
So I think that's part of the issue. And
it's just amazing though with the pool that Dale Jr. has.
I know, but they're so expensive.
Yeah, I know.
Those charters are just
they are, and you
ridiculous.
You got Allgaier, Barry, and Brandon Jones, all Junior Motorsports drivers. Also, I think Sheldon Creed is jumped on there. And I was a fan of his in the trucks. He's a good racer. I expect him to win a race this year. He's a very talented guy. So, do you think if you look through, as you mentioned a minute ago with Allgaier and Barry both coming off of the same team. How about John Hunter making a move back to cars from trucks? John Hunter Nemechek, who is really a great truck driver. He's done a really good job. And you got Chandler Smith. Any of these guys stick out to you as being potential dangerous drivers or guys that could contend for a championship?
I think Chandler Smith could. I think the Colleague Racing company as a whole is like a very, very good company that you should put your eyes on for betting Cup Series and Xfinity. Matt Colleague is definitely the real deal.
Yes, he's done a great job.
He's very, very serious about racing and winning, not just showing up like.
Yeah, that's a smaller team that's really building a lot of momentum. Is a really good a good team across the board. They're very competitive week in, week out. Very impressed with them. Chandler Smith driving for them, and who else did you say? There was one other guy. Oh, Daniel Hemrick is another one.
Landon Castle, he's driving in there.
And Justin Haley drove for him from time to time as well. I think him and Austin Dillon shared that ride. What do you think about Cole Custer as he goes back to the minors?
He's back. I think that's where he should be, to be honest.
Yeah. I mean,
he didn't do great for Stewart Haas.
Yeah, in a good team with good equipment.
Yeah.
Do you think he can contend for a championship?
He needs to if he wants to keep, sticking around.
Cole Custer,
actually, maybe not, because a lot of these guys seem to always just stick around
well,
just because they have the name now. They were in the Cup Series. Yeah.
Right. Well, do you think it's harder? Because you had, for those of you who aren't aware, John Hunter Nemechek, who is in the Xfinity Series this year. He was in the trucks last year. He started out in the trucks. He went up to the Cup. He got a Cup ride. He couldn't quite cut it. He wasn't terrible, but he wasn't consistently in the top 10 or top 15 even. Just struggled, went back down the trucks, got some confidence back, had a really good season, and made the playoffs, right in contention the whole way, really could have won the championship, and now he's back in Xfinity, looking to build his way back up. Similar situation for Cole Custer, was very good in Xfinity, made his debut in Cup. Did he do 2 years in Cup?
I believe so.
Yeah, 2 years in Cup, and now he's back in Xfinity. And that's the thing we were talking about earlier. these guys don't have a long shelf life. It's a 2-year deal for these guys, unproven guys. Once they get to the big time, if they don't produce in 2 years, it's out the door. We're getting another young, talented guy, and here they come. And you got Cole Gibbs, and you got Noah Gragson up taking the rise from somebody. So, and you got, we'll talk about Ryan Preece is back in the Cup after a couple rough years for him. But Cole Custer right now, the betting favorite for the Xfinity Series at 3-1, followed by Josh Berry at 4-1, and Justin Allgaier at 4-1 as well. I think any of those guys could win. I'm going to give you my pick here in a couple of minutes. Any thoughts on Brandon Jones moves from JGR to Junior Motorsports? Any thoughts on him? I kind of like Brandon Jones.
I was just going to say,
he's a solid racer.
I'm pro Brandon Jones. He had some great races last year.
Right.
Xfinity is very talented, and they race it just an odd day. The Saturday's a rough day to race because you don't. I don't know. It's Saturday. People want to do other shit than watch a race for 4 hours.
I also think
a lunatic like me.
Yeah, right. Fuck. Yeah, we're not normal, but I think one of the things I think they run into too is that their times of their races are strange. I think their body clocks have got to be messed up. They race a lot of times. It right at twilight, right at dusk, like the sun's changing. Now the NASCAR guys do that too, but not as often. These guys, they kind of they almost are laying the rubber down, and it's a benefit. The trucks in the Xfinity Series are actually a benefit to the Cup guys too. By the time the races are on Sunday, normally you got a nice groove going here. You got rubber laid down on the track. The grip is better. These guys kind of test the waters for the big time guys, and really the series wouldn't be as successful without it. But I think Brandon Jones is a guy who just needs to get a little bit more consistency. But I do like him, and I think he's got great equipment this year. He's going to be a contender. And any of those guys from Junior Motorsports, you're going to hear us talk a lot about them week in and week out on the Bettor's Last Stand show as we give you picks. They got a great team backed by Dale Jr., and obviously what a guy to just lean on for guidance and all the stuff that he's done for the sport.
Yeah, it couldn't be better.
Yeah. Schedule thoughts in the Xfinity Series. Chicago Street Race, I think, is pretty cool. They're going to have that for the Cup guys as well. Anything stick out on the schedule? I'm really pumped up about, and I forgot to mention this in the Truck Series, but and we'll mention it when we get to the big time, but the North Wilkesboro is making its return for on the Truck Series, and then the All-Star race in the Cup Series. Chicago Street Race I'm looking forward to. Many of the other tracks are all you're going to see week in, week out. A lot of times they're going to be at the same spots as the Cup Series guys. Maybe for a few exceptions like Portland, and let's see if there's another one on here that's not a normal one. I think it might be all.
Pretty much it.
Yeah, I think they pretty much standardize all of them. They don't go to like Milwaukee Mile or any of that stuff anymore. Anything stand on the schedule? Nothing too different.
Like you said, North Wilkesboro should be great.
Yeah,
I think that is going to be something that's where they should have started. That's where they should have the clash.
Yeah, I think they probably will. I think it sounds like Dale Jr., as he continues to do great work building those old speedways, if he can get that back, and I think this clash, I think that's the next place to go. And then maybe Rockingham, if they can bring that back, it would be really neat.
Because I think they have one more year on their contract with the clash.
Yeah, probably. And then in LA.
It's done.
Yeah. And then they'll probably revisit it. I think it'd be fine to go back there eventually, but I would switch it around definitely. Let's see, what else do we got on here? Tyler Reddick, he's going to run a limited schedule for Sam Hunt Racing.
Bet him to win all those races.
Yes, he's very good. Tyler Reddick's really an up and coming guy in the Cup Series. He's caused a lot of disturbances lately with the teams, switching teams and jumping ship before his contract was over, and not making some friends with that. But he's a very talented racer. He's going to run. Be aware, whenever you're going to get these Cup guys dropping down to race in these lower circuits, you can have one of two things. Either they're going to win the race, or you can take a shot against them. Maybe something goes wrong, malfunctions, then you can get good prices on the other guys because their odds immediately inflate when you got a Tyler Reddick or Kyle Busch in these races. And Ty Dillon, a guy who's just trying to build his way back into the Cup, he's going to run a limited schedule for his grandpa, Richard Childress Racing. So those are guys, keep an eye on those guys. It doesn't mean they'll always win, but they're always worth a look. And,
their odds are definitely higher.
Yeah, and we're going to... we're gonna talk about that when we get into the circuit each week. Where the value is. If a Cup guy's in there, it can draw, and if you get 2 or 3 Cup guys in there, it can make it interesting too, because they're going to be battling with each other, and you can have some people swoop in and maybe steal the prize. Most of the time, I would say take a shot against them at times, but Kyle Busch is hard to beat, and Reddick will be very, very formidable in the Xfinity Series when he runs those races. Long shot candidates to surprise this year. Anybody stick out to you that could make a difference? Chandler Smith was a guy I'd circled.
Chandler Smith's my number one.
Yeah.
I think he's the one that's got to just step it up and prove that he can race.
Yeah.
Because I think, like I said, Cup Series driving, they're going to open up because a lot of old guys are going to be done driving here.
Yeah, I mean, you got Harvick retiring.
I think Keselowski.
Yeah, and Keselowski's about finised. Truex will have a handful of years left. And I mean, even Denny Hamlin and Kyle Busch are getting up there. So, yeah, these guys, as Sam mentions, these are important times for these guys. Chandler Smith making his jump up here to full time. I think he'll be very, very good. What do you know about this Sammy Smith? He shares your name. Sammy Smith.
I don't know much, to be honest.
He's got very high credentials. I was reading about him. He is with Joe Gibbs Racing. So obviously, if you're getting recruited by Joe Gibbs Racing, you kind of stepping in for Ty Gibbs in that spot. I think he must have some potential. So we're going to keep an eye on him, try to learn some more about him as the season goes on. But there's always going to be opportunities to capitalize in these Xfinity races. It's actually gotten to where the Xfinity Series has been very, very fun to watch. Normally on a Saturday, as Sam mentioned, most of the time. Let's get to our picks. Let's go. Where are you going as far as the championship? And do you have any early thoughts on the Daytona race?
Josh Berry.
Josh Berry all the way. All right.
To win the whole thing.
I like it.
I just think that he has pedigree, and he needs to have another great year to prove that he can go driving Cup.
Yeah.
And obviously it won't be with Junior Motorsports, but I just think he's got to prove it again that you can drive back to Cup.
I tell you, with I'm anxious to see, and we're talking about these guys, but like there's a couple guys in Cup right now who have very important seasons coming up, but we're going to get into them in the last segment. But, with Dale Earnhardt Jr.'s connections, driving for Hendrick and things, if he's going to be recommended, a guy like Josh Berry wins a championship this year, I can see him getting a look from a Rick Hendrick or somebody to replace Alex Bowman or somebody if they don't perform better this year. But I agree with you. I think Josh Berry would be my top pick. I also kind of like Austin Hill. He won twice last year. I think he's getting better. He's about 13 to 1-ish. He could be. I think he'll make an improvement. I'm not sure he'll be able to win it, but I think he improves this year. I think he jumps up. I also take looks at Sheldon Creed and Chandler Smith as both guys that will be on the rides this year. And we'll talk plenty more about those guys coming up on our weekly breakdown. So got lots to look forward to. Now, without further ado, we're going to move on to the Cup Series. And we got the Daytona 500 here a week from Super Bowl Sunday. Lots of excitement there. One of my favorite days of the year. Let's just hope the rain stays away.
Oh, man. I don't want to see it on a Monday.
Yeah, I know. I hate that. It's just nothing worse than that. That's the only what we have a radio show for those of you who watch our Bettor's Last Stand or the Pioneer Podcast. We have a radio show we do down here at the WKKX studio, which is right across the hall from this beautiful Pine Room Studios here. The house that Jubb built.
Yes, sir.
We're lucky to have it, but we had a caller last week call in and ask us if we thought the Super Bowl Super Bowl should be played on a Saturday instead of a Sunday. Sometimes I feel like I'd rather the Daytona 500 be run on Saturday in case it got rained out.
Yeah.
Just for that reason.
Yeah, I actually agree. I think it should be on a Saturday because when Bubba won on a Monday,
yeah,
it was embarrassing.
Yeah, I know.
It was totally
couple
embarrassing.
Raindrops from the windshield.
Because that race didn't even finish.
No, I know.
That part got rained out.
Yeah, and that's a very infuriating part of NASCAR sometimes. The rain, Mother Nature. We don't have to worry about it in F1, but actually on these road courses, we do run in the rain now, so it's just really good. Yeah. I do like that. They put the wipers on the cars and the lights, and it's cool. It's neat. I don't mind one of those races once a year, but when we're on an oval track, I don't want any rain. I want it to stay clear, and unless my guy's in the lead and I got a giant ticket on him, and then maybe open the skies up and hope for some luck there. But all right, let's start talking about the Cup Series. obviously we touched on the rookies, on the newcomers, the Gregson versus Gibbs, Gregson for Petty, Gibbs for Joe Gibbs Racing. Just right out of the chute, do you think Gibbs gets the better of Gregson this year in the Rookie of the Year battle?
I do. I think Gibbs
I
is
agree
just
with that.
very, very talented. Not that Gregson isn't, but
right.
He's proven it every time he's had to step up. As soon as he went to Xfinity, he won that first race. He destroyed him.
Yep.
He got called up last year because Kurt Busch,
and he performed well.
I think he finished 13th, maybe.
Yes,
I wrote it down somewhere.
He's really, really impressive.
Yeah, he finished 13th. It was the Coke 400.
Yeah, I thought his rise to stardom, and you would think, he's just Joe Gibbs' grandkid. He's gonna get extra, attention, and he's not that good. Or I'm gonna tell you right now, this kid has a future. If you're not familiar, Ty Gibbs, son or grandson of legendary football coach for the Redskins, Joe Gibbs, and legendary NASCAR team owner. He's got an incredible team here. This is a loaded team. You got Denny Hamlin, you got Martin Truex, you had Kyle Busch. These are top end drivers, and then you got this young up and comer. And I agree. I think Noah Gregson's a really good driver, talented kid, but I think Ty Gibbs gets the better of him. So if you're gonna find any Rookie of the Year bets there, Ty Gibbs will be a slight favorite there anyway. So you're not gonna win a whole lot back. But I think Sam and I are both on board with him. Him taking the Rookie of the Year honors, and I'll be anxious to see how their rivalry grows and intensifies as time goes on. Because Gregson's kind of a loose cannon.
I know. I think he went to a team in a weird spot.
Yeah, I agree.
They were only Petty GMS for a year.
Yeah.
Now they're Legacy Motor Club.
Yeah.
Jimmy's back.
Yeah, lots of uncertainty with that team. I don't know. I don't know. I guess you're trying to break in and get your opportunity. You can't say no.
I don't fault the guy,
to the king, but I don't know. I don't know what to make of it. They haven't had the greatest of equipment, so it's going to be experimental, and we'll see how they do with it. But it's a great Rookie of the Year battle nonetheless. Just two really standout guys, and we'll look forward to watching it. All right, so let's go down here. Let's go right out of the chute with the rule changes here. What do you think about these the stage racing being kind of the stage racing caution? For those of you who aren't aware, stage racing's been added to NASCAR's all three series. I don't know how many years it's been around now, but several. But they race in stages. They get stage points. So stage 1, first 50 laps or whatever, they take a caution. Everybody goes in. They can service the cars, so on and so forth. You get points for that, and that's added to how you qualify for the playoffs. And the playoffs apply on all three of these circuits: the trucks, the Xfinity, and the Cup. The last segment of races, whether it's 8 for the one circuit and 10 for, maybe it's only like 6 for the trucks, but nonetheless, they end the season with a run of playoff races. The Cup do 10. So the stage racing has been a part of NASCAR for a while now. Now they're going to take it away from the road courses, and I like that they're taking it away, because I think it does road course racing, as we see in F1 all the time, strategy so important. What do you think about them taking this out of there?
I think it's good. Road courses are definitely the toughest races to watch, because once somebody's in the lead, you get the top 5 figured out, top 10 figured out. It's pretty much, if there's not a caution, or since there's no, the stage now, it's pretty much set in stone. If the pit goes well, that's pretty much the order it's going to be in, unless driver fault. Right.
Or because when you have with the road course, you're so drawn out. You got these courses that are 2.5 plus miles, and you have a guy spinning in the middle of the track, and the leader's way up 5, 6, 7, 8 turns ahead of him. It's not going to impact him. By the time he gets back around, obviously there's circumstances where the track's unpassable and they got a caution or a red flag, but you don't have the ability to catch up. Whereas on an oval speedway, every time a caution comes out, the group is bunching up. So they're eliminating the stage breaks in the road courses. Maybe it plays into some strategy. Maybe you see some teams roll the dice with some fuel, some stuff. Maybe make it a little bit more interesting. I think, I guess I can see why they wanted to do it. I don't think I don't think it's going to make a huge difference, but maybe it will. Maybe some teams try some things that they couldn't try before, whereas everybody's on the same sequence when you have those cautions and those stoppages. Whereas this, you could get some different guys, some guys trying to stay long, some guys short pitting, some other guys doing trying to only make 2 stops in the whole race. It will factor it in, make the crew chiefs earn their money. So that's always one thing that I think NASCAR likes, and I think that's always a cool aspect of NASCAR. Fuel mileage,
I know.
Who has enough, who doesn't, and it's just the uncertainty, and you're sitting on top of those pit boxes, and you're a guy that you have at 60 to 1s out front, and they don't know if he's got enough gas, and it's like, it's anguish. It's really, it's tough for everybody involved. So yeah, be ready for that if you're getting into NASCAR or any of the racing circuits for the first time. You always have that element, fuel, and you never know.
Nuts.
Yes, loose. Oh golly.
I'm pretty sure though, didn't they make a new rule now that crew chiefs do not get suspended?
Yeah, I believe they
whether
did.
it's on pit road or actually on the course. I don't know what the rule is.
So
I should've looked
what
it up,
Sam's talking about is if you had a loose tire, your crew chief could be suspended.
4 races.
Yeah, 4 races, which is extreme. But that's a very important thing when you're going to these pit stops. You got to get the thing secure, and with that stupid centered lug nut thing, which I hate.
I hate it
in the old days, for those of you who are familiar with NASCAR, you used to have the 5.
Those right there.
Right there. There's nice Goodyears with the 5 little things right there on our beautiful Busch Light number 98 provided to us by Ace. We got the Budweiser one over there. But in the old days, you had several lug nuts on the car. Now you only have the one in the center. And they try to make it so they wouldn't have this happening all the time. But I get it. Some of the times, I heard some of the teams talking about how tricky it was. And when you're a tire changer, you're so used to doing the boop, 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 boop around the horn. And this is just totally different. So it took some time to adjust. And we did have some loose wheels and some things happen last year, and guys did get suspended. So I think they've
a lot of loose wheels.
I think we reduced the penalty, but yeah, it seemed like a guy was losing one every race.
Every race.
And it would always hit somebody else. Yeah. Or hit somebody on pit road, roll into somebody else's tire carrier.
Well,
in the pit up.
As Chris would say, we like that.
Yeah, well, it keeps the blood flowing. It makes it action packed. But another rule change, the Ross Chastain thing is supposedly where he ran up and rode the wall at Martinsville to beat out Denny Hamlin for the playoffs. What do you think of that?
How many times would that have actually happened?
Yeah, I know. I agree.
They made a rule for something that's probably never going to happen again.
No,
that situation is never going to happen again.
Right, that perfect situation. Yeah.
Right.
It reminded me of when the NFL did the pass interference review during this after the Saints-Rams game.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
It's like, we'll change the whole rule because of one mistake. And
Yes.
again, it was a terrible mistake. But, I don't know. I'm not wild about that. I thought the ingenuity and the creativity of it was pretty cool at the time. I don't know how Denny Hamlin feels about it, but he's probably pretty pissed still.
That's just another reason to get mad at Ross.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, so those two have a feud going as well. Let's talk.
Also, I'd like to don't interrupt.
The
cost of fixing the car.
Oh yeah,
that's why people aren't going to just do that every race.
Exactly. Yeah, I mean, you're not going to do that. First of all, if you're even a marginal team, and then
BJ McLeod, riding the wall.
Right? Yeah, Corey LaJoie. But yeah, that was just at the right time. You're right. It's the last race. The last race before the playoffs to get in, or actually it was not really before the playoffs. It was the final cut down for before the last race. But yeah, it's kind of this one in a million thing. So enjoy it while it lasts. I guess we'll never see it again.
Never see it again, man.
Yeah. All right. So let's talk a little bit about the schedule. We talked about North Wilkesboro coming back for the All-Star race. Pretty pumped about that. Bristol Dirt's back on Easter. What are your thoughts on that? I know we watched that race together normally on Easter.
I don't like the dirt.
Yeah, I'm about tired of it.
I'm pretty much done with it. But the month of April, schedule, I love.
Yeah.
I love Richmond, Martinsville, Talladega, Dover.
Yeah, that's about as good a month of tracks. You have very a wide range of tracks. I wish Bristol would go back to the regular speedway.
It's just the dirt, I don't. It throws it off.
So is this going to be our third year for that?
Yeah.
Yeah. So for those of you, again, getting into this for the first time, Bristol Motor Speedway, just a great track. It's actually, they call it something. I think they refer to it as a Coliseum as well. They used to anyway. Not like the Coliseum they had the Clash at, but anyway, it was it's a tiny little half-mile track, 15 seconds a lap. It's super loud. It's a bowl. It's in the middle. It's the hills of Tennessee. Great place. Been there several times myself. They decided that they were going to change it up a little bit and add dirt. This is to be the third year for that. They've added dirt, so it's a dirt track on this incredible 36-degree banked mini little half-mile track. So they got dirt. It's like monster trucks down at the West Bank Arena. That kind of dirt. They're racing on dirt. So it's a unique element. I liked it 1 year, but I think they should do it like once every 5 years, not once a year, because Bristol's such a good track. You don't need the dirt.
It's a gimmick. It's like the Clash.
It really is.
And it starts off with dirt. And then about 50 laps, 75 laps in.
And then it's worn down to the concrete.
Worn down, and then it rained last year, right. I think. Nobody could see. They're sliding.
Yeah, and you get guys fishtailing around. Yeah, it's not great. It is a gimmick, and I get they're trying to draw different people in. But I feel like some of these things are creative at first, and now I think it's time for them to switch out of them. I hope this is the last year for the Bristol Dirt. But Sam is right. April's a really good month. Richmond, great track. Bristol, Martinsville. You got 3 really good short tracks in a row. Then you go to the biggest speedway of them all at Talladega, and then you go back to a mile speedway at Dover, which is a really exciting track as well. So great month there. As I mentioned, North Wilkesboro in May at the All-Star Race. Super pumped for that. That's an old-time speedway that hasn't been in use in, I don't even know how many years. 15 years probably at least, maybe more. Winston Cup days. Yeah. And then the Chicago Street Race, July 2nd. We talked about that earlier in the Xfinity and trucks. I'm curious to see how that'll turn out. You never know.
What do you think the goal is of the Chicago Street Race?
Just to be better than the Chicago Land track, I guess.
That ain't gonna be hard. That is not gonna be hard.
That's got to be the goal. Keep the Chicago people happy and give them a better race, because Chicago Land was pretty boring. I don't know. I guess it's just they hit LA, they're hitting Chicago. Now when are they going to get to New York? That's the only thing left.
New York race would be.
Yeah, I mean, cool. I don't even. Do we even go? Yeah, we do the Glen still, but that's it. There's nothing really else up by New York. So, yeah. They keep the Worldwide Tech. I like that track. The Coda, which are good road courses. You got Pocono, you got New Hampshire still in the mix. They've cut down a lot of the tracks that were kind of boring, which is good.
They're missing one to cut out, and that's the last one.
Phoenix. Yeah, I tend to agree. I think Phoenix should only have one race. Not the last fan of that. Yeah, and then they should have that one in the spring and March, because it's the weather, and I get they want to stay in the warm weather areas. Michigan's now down to just one race, which is fine. Does Pocono have 2 this year, or does they only have 1?
I think they only have 1.
Okay. Pocono's a track Uncle Mark always says, Coach, for those of you who know him from the podcast and Bettor's Last Stand. Coach said Pocono's the worst track ever to visit live. I'd probably agree with that. I've never been there, but giant triangular shaped track. Hard to see, I'm sure, in person, but it's pretty nice on TV, I think. I think it's a pretty exciting race normally. Kansas, very boring track.
Terrible.
So you go through a heart of the schedule sometimes, and you're going to have some clunkers in there, but it doesn't mean you can't win money, doesn't mean we can't have fun with them. What are your thoughts on Nashville, the Super Speedway at Nashville? Any?
I think it's cool. I think it's a good market.
Yeah.
I think that whole Tennessee market.
Yes.
I mean, it's a big shit. Tons of people move there.
Right.
I just think that I don't know. I just don't think the racing is going to be as great as it should be.
Now that I'm thinking about it, as I deviate back, is Kentucky not have any races at all?
Nothing.
Wow. That track at Sparta's got nothing. Okay, that's interesting. Indianapolis Road Course, a fan of that one. I like that. What are your thoughts on the Charlotte Roval? And I kind of like it.
I like the Roval.
Yeah, I think it's cool.
It's different.
I enjoy it.
I didn't at first.
Yeah, I thought it was hard to figure out, and then which some of the drivers had problems figuring it out too.
Big trouble.
Blowing through the cones and stuff. But yeah, creative. So Charlotte, NASCAR did something interesting with Charlotte. Charlotte, a really nice, big, long, one of the bigger tracks on the circuit, over 1.5 miles. They have a road course that's part of it. So part of the track's out on the main speedway, and then they dip down into the road course. So it's pretty unique. Do we have is the Daytona road course on here? Do we have that again? I feel like we don't. don't see it.
Shocking.
Daytona had a road course as well, a little different than the Charlotte Roval, but I don't see it on the schedule. It must have been eliminated. I must have missed that when I was preparing. I do not recall it being eliminated, but it looks like it has been. So anyway, we'll keep an eye on that. Nothing to see there, I guess. All right, let's get into some other news and notes here. What do you think? Kyle Busch makes the jump. Joe Gibbs Racing for years. He makes the move over to Richard Childress. Richard Childress, quality team. I feel like Austin Dillon's only hanging on because he's his grandson.
We know why he's there.
And Austin Dillon's not a bad driver. He's won a race last year. He's winning. He won the Daytona 500 before. He's a good racer. But not the quality that really deserves. I think Kyle Busch takes it to another level here. I consider him a contender for the championship. What do you say?
Yeah, I do too. I think he's got a lot of stuff to get off his chest. He's
right.
I mean, the pistol thing. That's
That's
one thing. But that's
arrested in Mexico for having a firearm. Yeah. Yeesh, I'm just glad he made it out of there. That doesn't always work that way for people.
But I think just last year they were talking about it. It's his fault that this contract's not done. It's like M&M's isn't coming back. What's he going to do?
Yeah.
He can't find a sponsor. He got a new team, got a new ride.
Yeah.
It's Kyle Busch.
I think he's
very talented.
Yeah, I think he's rejuvenated. I think he breathed some life into Austin Dillon too. I think Austin Dillon will have a better year this year. I think you got somebody that's that knowledgeable in the sport on your team. I think it pushes you. I think sharing information will be huge. I think he'll help out that entire racing operation in Richard Childress. So
they need it.
Yeah, they do. And again, they have great stuff. Like they've got to get more out of their drivers than their equipment is good. It's their drivers are the ones that have let them down. And I look for that to change. I think they're going to have one of their better years. All right, let's go on to Kevin Harvick. His final year on the circuit, and unless he pulls the Eric Almirola and decides I had a good year, I'm going to come back.
I mean, if he has a good year, he'll be back.
Yeah, I agree. And it's hard to get rid of a guy like that because even though he's getting up there in age, guy's still good. I mean, he's consistent. Thing about him that I really love, and I gave these picks out a lot on our Pioneer picks last year. Bettor's last stand was just beginning, so we really didn't have him. But I love Kevin Harvick. It's many tracks, several tracks, top 10 finishes. He's just so solid. And he's a guy who stays out of trouble. That's the most remarkable thing about him in all his times of racing. And you see those guys, Denny Hamlin, guys like him, Truex, they tend to avoid trouble. But what do you think? Harvick go out with a bang? Does he win a couple races?
I think he goes out with a bang and then comes back. I really do. I think he's just talented. It's just like the Truex thing. Like, this will be the year I retire. Starts off the year with a win. He's already got a win under his belt. Exactly. Didn't have any last year.
Right.
No, I know his son. I think his son's name might be Keelan Harvick. Is a very talented driver.
How old is he?
Maybe 14 or 15.
Okay.
I think he's going to be one of the next up and coming, Cup, Xfinity, truck drivers and that. Not that order, but
right.
He'll probably still be around the sport. I know they want to try to have him in the booth, but cool. I just think he's gonna have a good year. He's Kevin Harvick.
Yeah, I agree.
He's been racing for so long. It's like somebody like Jimmy, I think.
Yes.
Like the Daytona 500. Jimmy's been racing for so long. He's raced that track countless times. Like, is the muscle memory just gonna come back of just like I'm Jimmy Johnson, the champ?
I guess it'll depend on the car he has underneath him.
I know that's what I think with Harvick. It's just like he's been doing it so long.
Right.
He's just so talented.
Yeah, and Stewart Haas again, they have top-notch stuff too. And honestly, they haven't gotten enough out of their other drivers outside of Harvick.
Nope.
Eric Almirola had a really good season last year, and he's a guy that I mentioned earlier without saying his name. Eric Almirola to me is completely mispriced on the super speedways. Like, he's 40-1 to win the Daytona 500. That's ridiculous.
That is ridiculous.
He's far better than that. You got guys like Ryan Preece 25, Austin Dillon 25. He's better than both of them. No doubt about it. So when we get to going through picks or early picks at Daytona, he's a guy I love to use in Talladega. He's great on super speedways, and you can find mispriced. I think odds makers just see, well, he doesn't do that well at other tracks. Although last year I thought Almirola had one of his best seasons ever, and I guess that's why he's stuck around.
Yeah.
But I don't think Stewart Haas has gotten enough out of their team. Briscoe, what do you think of him? What are your thoughts? He's starting
hot seat.
I agree, and I feel like he showed some signs that he could be breaking through. But he's got to get to consistency, and then Ryan Preece comes back to the Cup Series to be with Stewart Haas as well. And
this is what I'd love. I'd love for Briscoe. No, I wouldn't love this. This is kind of fucked up. But if Briscoe didn't have a great year and he's gone,
right?
Smoke comes back.
Ooh, yeah.
I'd love it.
He got to drop some weight. He get a little chunky in the booth.
He does. He's looking a little wide.
Who am I to talk?
He's looking like Big Perk on the TV.
Yeah, right. Jeez, yeah. Smoke. Oh, yeah. Smoke. He might have. He probably has the competitive juices flowing.
But I think Briscoe's got to have three top fives, at least consistent top tens. If not, what's the point of
and
being up there?
He did win once last year, didn't he? I think Briscoe.
I believe, but I just don't think it's enough.
Yeah, I thought he. Let's see. Bear with us, folks. Oh yeah, Chase Briscoe won at Phoenix. Yeah, so yeah, I mean, I agree with you. I don't think like that's so long ago because I'm gonna tell you right now, like Austin Cindric and Chase Briscoe will both be like hot seat drivers. I'm a fan of Austin Cindric, and he's another guy on the super speedways I think's really good, very good road racer too. I think he makes a jump this year. I think he's just got to stay consistent. Out of those two guys, who do you think has a better year, Cindric or Briscoe?
Cindric.
Okay, I agree with that.
But I don't think Cindric is on the hot seat because his dad is like the president.
No, I agree. I think he gets another year.
And
he won the Daytona 500 last year,
so
that carries weight. So
yeah,
I know that helps. His dad is a big wig, so that's gonna at least give him another try if he gets dropped. Jimmy Johnson, as you mentioned, back involved with the Petty ownership. He's gonna race a limited schedule, includes the Daytona 500 if he can qualify. What do you think? You think he makes the race? The how many time champion? 8, 9, however many times he
7
won?
or 8 at least.
Yeah,
but a lot of people have to qualify. He's got to qualify.
Yeah.
Pastrana's got to qualify.
Yeah, how about that? Jacques Villeneuve.
Yeah, F1's finest.
Yeah, right.
And Connor Daly's got to qualify
Daly,
for the money team. Floyd Mayweather. I mean, Matt.
I know. Too many spots.
What's going on with this?
Don't forget Cody Ware.
Oh my God, Cody Ware.
and Elio Castroneves is supposedly going to try to run in too, but I don't know.
What do you feel about Jimmy? You feel good, bad?
I mean,
sad
honestly,
about it?
I kind of feel like he was about done when. Maybe he gets rejuvenated, but I'd like to see him have one more chance to do good. But I don't know. What do you think? You think he can compete if he makes it?
I don't think so.
I just don't know.
It's Jimmy. I don't know. I mean, he went to IndyCar and he didn't do.
I mean, I guess if you put him in Chase Elliott's car, he might. But like,
I know. That's just not the case. He's not with the same team anymore.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm not gonna have. I know from a betting standpoint, he will be probably the most bet driver.
You think?
People just bet him on sentimentality. Like they just want him to, be good again. Kyle Busch will take some too. But Jimmy Johnson, I always like when guys like that are in the race because they get overbet by people that want to see history or him come back. I don't know. I'm a Jimmy Johnson guy. I like him. I always have. I respect the hell out of him. I think he's a great guy and really good for racing all the way around. And, I give him credit for trying Indy cars. And, he just couldn't get a whole lot of momentum going with that. So he's back where he feels comfortable and see if he can help out the Petty operation. What do you think about AJ Allmendinger coming in full time?
Love it.
Yep, and he's a solid guy.
It's I mentioned with the Xfinity, Colleague Racing.
Yep,
watch out.
Yeah, Colleague. I mean, they're not messing around when they send somebody somewhere. They're going to trying to win races.
I mean, who were we texting about during the Clash? Justin Haley.
Yes, who I'm a big fan of, and had a nice ticket on him for the Clash. It didn't work out as well as I hoped, but he ran well. Big fan of him on the bigger tracks as well. I think he's dangerous there, and I think his all-around game is improving too. So the Colleague guys, I think, are improving in every level of racing that they're competing in. I think they're dangerous. They're getting better. AJ Allmendinger, great road racer, and he got better on short tracks too. He's dangerous on the restrictor plate tracks as well. I mean, he's starting to round into. And I always thought the thing with him is like he never had any consistency. He'd race like twice, and then he would be off and he'd be out of it for like 6 weeks, and then he'd come back, and he was always on a limited schedule. I felt like he never really got an opportunity to thrive, but I think he gets a chance now.
Yeah, at 41, 42 years old, full-time back in the Cup Series is pretty cool.
Hey, why not? He'll give it a whirl. He might win a race. Definitely look for him, and we'll talk about him definitely when we talk road racing throughout the season. How about Ty Dillon? He's full-time for Spire Motorsports. Ty Dillon's a guy who I always took shots on in the big races as well. Daytona, Talladega. He's 151 right now, 150-1 to win the Daytona 500. It would not be impossible for him to win. He ran up front a lot last year. You can get guys like that, good value. I don't know. What do you think? Do you think he's good enough to cut it at this level, or is he just only good on those big tracks and that's it?
I think he's only good on the big tracks and just filling a ride. But also, it's like him and LaJoie both for Spire Motorsports. They both were up there at the end of the. I want to say it was Daytona or maybe Talladega. I'm not sure.
Yeah, because LaJoie's run well at those big speedways as well.
But he got crashed, or he tried to block somebody, or something happened. I forget what it was.
Yeah, no, he did, because I know I had Ty Dillon that day, and he got rear-ended in the ass, and it was upside down from there. He's I don't know. I feel like, and I liked him and his brother Austin. I just don't know how long they'll hang around, but they got that children's blood, and that's probably going to keep.
They have a TV show too.
Yeah, right. That doesn't hurt. Reality TV stars, you can't stop them there. No. All right, so let's start diving in here a little bit to some of the teams. I'm going to give you a couple names of some guys, and I want you to tell me what you expect out of them this year. How about Ross Chastain? How about just Trackhouse, period? What thoughts on him and Daniel Suarez? Huge breakthrough season for Trackhouse last year. Ross Chastain in the number 1 and Daniel Suarez in the 99. Both of them won races. Highly competitive. And Daniel Suarez is a guy who I've loved. I thought it was ridiculous a couple years ago when he got fired from his previous ride. It was a terrible job. I thought he was a really good race car driver. I still think he is. And I expect them both to be pretty solid, but do they take a slide back now as other teams get better?
I think that Chastain will take a slide back.
Right.
I think that Suarez may take a little bump forward.
Okay, I like that. I agree with that. I think Suarez probably maybe the more talented of the two. Ross Chastain, though, has one thing. He's got balls, and he's not scared of any of these dudes. He's not intimidated. So that works in his favor. Daniel Suarez may be a little bit too nice. So that works against him sometimes. All right, so let's go to Team Penske right now. Starting out with Austin Cindric, Ryan Blaney. Ryan Blaney, a guy I really, really like. He's probably arguably my favorite driver. Just never seems to win, but he's always consistent, super solid, playoff contender every year. Thoughts on Cindric and Blaney?
I like Blaney more than Cindric. Blaney's always there, like you said. He's always right in the mix. Cindric, he is good. He did win the 500.
Right.
But is it because his last name's Cindric?
Yeah. I mean, and that's, and we all know that Daytona 500, a lot of that has to do with luck at the right time, being at the right place, getting the right drafting help. And he did have a good car, and he is good at those. So it's taking nothing away from him. And then finally, Joey Logano, defending champ, Team Penske. Logano's a guy, he's never going to take a backslide. This dude is as good as it gets. He's arguably the best driver on the circuit, top to bottom to me. Just incredible tenacity, gets by people in all kinds of ways. He can do it on all the tracks. If I had to say who the best overall driver is in this circuit, I would say it's Logano. What do you think?
No, I agree. He's not my favorite.
No, I do
not like seeing him win.
No, I hear you.
Dude, he is so good. He's always in the mix.
Yeah, he rubs people the wrong way a lot of the time. All right, we talked already a little about Stewart-Haas. Let's talk about Hendrick. Kyle Larson, not as good a year last year. The year before, he was unbelievable. These new generation car made it a little bit more difficult on him. Still really good season though. Nothing to be ashamed of. Chase Elliott, kind of their leader of them, but I mean, it's pretty amazing that you have Larson and Elliott on the same team, two absolute studs, and then you have Byron, who's William Byron, a guy who's up and down, a little too inconsistent for me, but he can't on a given week he has the right setup. He's really good. And then Alex Bowman, I thought last year was absolutely dreadful,
terrible.
Every single week he had a problem. A lot of it maybe wasn't even his own fault, but he literally was snake bit every single week. I would expect him to either bounce back immensely or he'll be out of the circuit this year.
I was just going to say that he's like Briscoe.
Yeah.
Hot seat.
Yeah.
Big time hot seat.
Do you foresee Byron taking a jump up to be able to where he could be as good as Elliott or Larson, or do you think it just stays Elliott, Larson, the top two, and then a good gap between Byron and Bowman?
I just think Elliott and Larson are that.
I mean, Elliott's
more talented of drivers.
Elliott probably is. If Joey Logano's the best, Elliott's this 1A, 1B kind of thing.
Larson's right there too.
Yeah, right. The only thing I'll say about Larson that makes me mark against him a little bit, I think his super speedway, he's not very good at it. The other guys I do. That's where I break the tie, because I agree. If you take him on anything with like a mile and a half or less, he's unstoppable. But yeah, the Talladega and Daytona, if he gets any better at those, then I would totally agree with that. But Chase Elliott, Joey Logano, hard to argue with those guys as being the favorites for the championship. All right, let's jump to Joe Gibbs. Denny Hamlin, not his best year last year. He would be the first to tell you that. Chris Bell, who's knocking on the door at some big-time stardom. Then you got Todd Gibbs, the grandson, and then a guy who I'm super high on, had a really tough season last year, Martin Truex Jr. I actually wish he didn't win the Clash. I did have him, but I wish he didn't win because I think it'll hurt his odds a little bit. I'm going to bet him to win the championship. I think he bounces back in style this year. I think he wins at least 3 or 4 races, maybe more. I expect a big year out of Marty. What do you say?
I mean, he's very talented. I think Joe Gibbs Racing in general is a team in some very odd times. Very odd times because they're kind of old.
Yeah, they are.
I guess I heard that Coy Gibbs, Ty's father that passed away, was big with Christopher Bell in the dirt races.
Right.
And since he passed, Joe Gibbs doesn't let Christopher Bell run these dirt races anymore. And Christopher Bell does not like that.
Oh, so that's probably...
So Bell's kind of... They say he's on hot,
he might pull a Reddick and hit and jump
and
ship.
They say FedEx might not come back for Denny.
Yeah.
They just lost Kyle Busch. I know that Ty Gibbs is there, but
yeah, he might be the future.
It's a big year for him.
It is.
It's a really big year.
Who do you expect to be the top performer? Do you think Denny, Truex, or do you see Gibbs going right up and passing those? I think Bell probably has the biggest upside right now. Gibbs probably will in a year, but I'm going with Truex. I think he's going to have a good year.
I mean, I think it's Truex or Bell.
Yeah.
But I think Gibbs can surprise a lot of people. I really, really do.
Do you think Denny Hamlin's hit the stage of his career like a Jimmy Johnson where he kind of just is still good, but not like dominating good like he was at one time?
I think Denny's still very good.
Yeah.
I just think he needs to race for his own team.
Yeah, no, that's tough because those of you who don't know, again, new to the racing, 2311, Denny Hamlin and Michael Jordan, they have a just a growing race team right now. It's a good team. They got good obviously money invested in it. I mean, doesn't get much bigger than Michael Jordan. He wants to win all the time. Denny Hamlin, just a legend around NASCAR in his own right. They have a team here with Tyler Reddick and Bubba Wallace, and I mean they're good. I mean, I'm no Bubba Wallace fan, but he's solid on many tracks. A little too much of a crybaby for me. Tyler Reddick could be very good this year for 2311.
Yeah, I think he'll be their best driver for sure. But this Bubba in the speedways, it always seems like he's right there in the mix. In those last 10 laps, Bubba's there.
He is. He's always right in there in the draft. Trying to go to the league, getting a little too aggressive sometimes for me.
Hard.
And
he runs real hard.
He does. Let's see what else. Let's go down to. You see any type of progress being made from Harrison Burton? I thought he was good in Xfinity. I don't know. He's very inconsistent last year. Never got much momentum. Do you see him making any type of progress this year?
I really don't, but I will say this. It doesn't count for anything. I think he's got one of the best looking cars.
Yeah.
I love that Ford Motorcraft 21.
Yeah, no, I agree.
That is one of the only cars that reminds me of like an old school race car.
It even has the old look of the Sitco, like the 21 Wood Brothers legendary car for years and years.
So that's about the only thing I like about him, which is not a good sign.
No, that's probably not going to bode well. The Colleague guys, Justin Haley, we talked about them. They could be the next team that makes them a move upward, like Trackhouse did last year. Allmendinger and Haley, fans of those guys, think both of them will be contenders at certain races and look for some improvement. What about front row? Anything you see from them guys? Michael McDowell, Todd. I don't think Todd Gilliland's that bad. I thought he had some bad luck last year, but at times I thought his car was really good. I thought he was pretty good. Super speedways, the road courses, I thought he was at least above the middle of the pack most of the time for a guy who's new to the series. I'm looking for him to improve a little bit. What do you say?
Gilliland's definitely who I would take out of those two, but if I had to pick, I would rather pick somebody else other than somebody from Front Row Motorsports.
The one thing I didn't like about Todd Gilliland, I felt kind of bad for him, is I thought he was pretty decent on the super speedways. They relieved him with Zane Smith's running the Daytona in his car. So Zane Smith's going to take 6 races away from him this year, so that kind of sucks. How about Stuart Haas? Talked about Preece. Ryan Preece was always a guy I would bet at Talladega and Daytona. I really don't see much of a future. I don't think he can do anything other than those 2 tracks. Likable guy, but just I don't think he's got it. His all-around racing ability is not that good.
No, I mean he's okay, but Almirola is number 1 for Stuart Haas for me.
Yeah, okay.
I think he's the number 1.
Yep. I think he could have he may even outperform Harvick this year. You never know. So I like Almirola. As I said, he's going to be my pick for Daytona 500 right now. If I'm going to give an early pick on him, I'm obviously checking the odds, and you want to shop around in your books and find your best odds, and we'll talk more about that as we get close to Daytona next week. It's good to see Almirola continuing. He stays out there another year, so it gives me a chance to bet on him. Any other thoughts on any of the teams? I think we pretty much hit on all the big teams and anybody we missed. Eric Jones, there you go. The guy won a race last year. Eric Jones is a talented guy. I think certain tracks he's very good at. Him and Noah Gragson with the Legacy Motor Club. I think those guys will be all right. They'll be competitive. I don't think they'll be great every week, but I thought Eric Jones towards the end of the year last year was consistently in the top 15, top 10. I was betting him quite a bit, and if you remember on the PRP picks, I had him on there quite a few times. Thought he was a guy who, with a decent setup of a car, he's a good racer.
It's just going to be tough for them because I still don't understand what's going on with their team.
Yeah.
They were only petty GMS for a year.
Right.
And it really, Jimmy came and he changed the whole name?
Yeah, I know. It is an odd operation.
It's just weird. Like, what's happening?
Yeah, you don't really know. And I feel like that's worked against Eric Jones. I think he's had some bad luck with his teams the last several years.
Very bad
Just
luck.
couldn't really find a good home. But and I think that's pretty much. We can't not talk about Brad Keselowski. Is he done?
He's done.
Yeah.
He's done.
Yeah, I think so. What about Buscher? Buscher had a good year last year. He was consistently in the top 15, 10s a lot of times. I don't think he's a wow me driver at all, and I don't really see him getting any better, but I think he's solid. Like, he's okay. At certain times, I'll play him in certain situations. Top 10s, those kinds of things, but probably not much of a win better for Buscher or Keselowski.
No,
Keselowski, even on the super speedways last year, was just horrendous.
I don't know what's going on.
He was so good, and I know he's part owner with that operation in the Roush Fenway and Keselowski, RFK. Yeah, I don't know. He's got to pick it up a little bit. I know he's a part owner of his team, but even he can't stand for that. He might get fired himself after this.
I would, because you can't show up to the Clash and then not qualify for the race.
It's terrible.
Twice.
It's terrible. Past champion. I mean, this guy's 2 years removed from being a championship contender, like really a championship contender. Leaves Penske for this. His contract was up, but yeah, not been good for Keselowski and RFK. Buscher, the far better performer last year. So we will see. Sam, that does it for most of the rundown through the Cup Series. And anything that we didn't hit on in any of the circuits that you want to go back to? And then I guess first and foremost, let's get your championship pick. I'm going with Marty Truex. What say you as far as NASCAR Cup Series?
It's been a tough one to pick. I'll give you the Daytona 500 pick first.
Okay, perfect.
Pistol Pete, Kyle Busch.
All right, I like it.
Something about the way he was driving at the Clash. I just think he's just a very good driver in general.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
I just think last year he was just kind of done with all the talk of him getting blamed for everything.
Yeah.
Joe not really.
He's kind of had one foot out the door. It looked like towards the end of last year. I agree with that.
And I think for the championship, I'm going to go with the number 9 Napa.
Okay.
I think Chase does it. I just think Chase is good. He's consistent.
Yeah.
I mean, everyone loves Chase.
Yeah,
I don't want to jump on the bandwagon of Chase, but I just...
he's a likable guy. He's about 5.5 to 1 right now. Him and Kyle Larson, the favorites. Logano at 12. Chastain 12. I think that's way too low for him. Martin Truex around 12. That's the guy I'm going to go with. I agree with you. Kyle Busch I thought is a championship contender as well. And if Ryan Blaney could ever put together some wins, I think he may be. For the Daytona 500, I'm going with Eric Almirola, but I'll probably have a couple other guys that I'll slide in there. Ty Dillon will be one I'm using. David Reagan, if he qualifies, I'll be using him. He'll be like 300 to 1 probably.
Pastrana might win
it. I won't be betting Pastrana. But Daytona makes for a good betting race. Lots of potential winners. Most weeks you can maybe have 15 to 20 winners. At Daytona you could probably have 30 different winners. In same with Talladega. So Sam, any closing thoughts? This was fun. I hope you enjoyed it as much as I did.
I've enjoyed it a lot. I do actually have some closing thoughts.
Okay, please.
I've noticed like a theme between NASCAR and F1. Like they have a similar problem, and it has to do with money.
Okay.
like the F1 teams don't want to allow other teams in,
right,
so that they make less money.
Correct.
And NASCAR teams are making so much money that they don't, like, NASCAR is making so much money, the company, they don't want to give that money to the teams.
Spread it
so they're in like the same boat with like different problems.
Yes. No, you're right.
And I don't understand really why.
I don't know either. I guess greed and whoever's in charge. Yeah, it is interesting that the trickle down effect that you would think, like, no more truer case than the Pittsburgh Pirates in baseball. All the money that MLB makes and gives to these teams for their TV contracts and all that, and Nutting just keeps it and doesn't spend any of it.
It's ridiculous.
Which that's a topic for another day. But on the baseball preview that we'll have on here with Sam and Jarrett down the road as we get closer to baseball season. We'll look forward to that. Anything else you want to hit on? I agree with you with that. I'd like to see both of those operations try to make it a little bit more balanced and continue to get more teams involved and more competitive teams. That's the whole key.
Yeah, I mean, let an Andretti in.
Yes.
What's the harm of one more team?
No.
How much more money is really not going to be in your pocket?
Yes, absolutely. Coach, welcome.
Hey, Coach.
What, you guys start late?
No, we're just finishing now. We're in the last signing off here momentarily.
Oh, okay, go ahead.
Yeah.
I need to grab those cameras for tomorrow.
Okay. All right. Well, that'll do it here for the Bettor's Last Stand Racing preview show as Coach comes in to close up shop for the night. We will be giving out Sam's picks every week. He's going to join us regularly on Skype or Zoom once we get the computer here in the beautiful studio. We'll have him on. We'll have the picks up on Instagram and Twitter every week as we go through the racing season. Again, you got Daytona next week, and then the F1 and IndyCar seasons right around the corner. So thanks again for joining us. Hope you enjoyed it, and we will be back next week on Bettor's Last Stand as usual. Thanks again to Sam for joining us. Sam, I hope you enjoyed your time here.
It was a pleasure.
All right, you'll be back soon. We'll be back soon. Take care from the Pine Room Studios. Have a great night and a great weekend.